Hello friends, welcome. My name's Popeye. Today we're playing some more Higurashi Chapter 8, Matsuribayashi. We're near the very end of this game. We're in the final chapter. No promises, but there is a chance we do complete this tonight. I saw your stretch, Samus, and I will be getting to it. Don't worry. I'll get to it after the disclaimer and the summary of what happened. Actually, yeah, and the summary of what happened last time. I was just like, I can stretch doing the summary, but I know it's far from the mic and sometimes I'm hard to hear. I don't want anyone to miss that. Before we get into it, some trigger warnings for this game. This game has some pretty mature themes. If any of these things are something you don't want to experience or take part in tonight, please by all means find some place that you'd rather spend your time this evening. This game deals with themes such as death, murder, dismemberment, torture, rape, blood, gore, kidnapping, child abuse, suicide, and body horror. And any of those things against a minor. In fact, almost everything I just said takes place against children aged 11 to 14. If you want me to repeat that, either by all means feel free to ask or check down below in the description where I have a list of all of those trigger warnings. Alright, what happened last time? Last time was mainly like a setup, info dump. So the main crew, they're going ahead with their 48-hour plan. The gist of it is that they've kept Sadako and Rika in Mion's basement for over 48 hours. They're going to pretend that they've been dead for over 48 hours. And the reason for that is they know that there's this clause that says if Rika was to die, everyone in the village would go mad and start killing each other within 48 hours, which is why they've had to murder the entire village in almost every other past game. So their hope is by saying this, it'll show that that's not the case, and then they won't have to kill everyone, which means that they have more time. And, just everyone doesn't die, which is also nice. So there was setup prep for that. And then we had a bit of backstory. I guess, who is it? Camera guy, name escapes me right this second. So we've learned that Tomitake, that's his name, Tomitake. Takano is already under investigation because some of the higher-ups in the Tokyo organization have already basically expedited Tomitake's inquest into her. Hello, Avier. How's it going? Expedited the inquest. They think that she has absconded the funds and has been given funds from an outside source. I believe they said approximately 1 billion yen, which would be what, 10 million US dollars in 1983, and that's how she's bought off the whatever the dog group is. It's not like the Bloodhounds, but whatever they're called. And that's how she's gotten them to follow her. We've also saw a bit more backstory about Takano, where she's kind of going through this mental collapse, and she's reliving the past trauma of when she was in the orphanage, and that's kind of feeding into her current state of mind. I think that about summarized it. So we're at the point where they're waiting for morning, and at morning, the police are going to announce that Rika and Sadako were found dead, and that they've been dead for over 48 hours. Alright, hello, Chaos. He doesn't know yet, and you're awaiting the repercussions. Just don't start another war, that's all I'm gonna say. Samus is now in charge of scolding people. And yes, now, Samus has redeemed a stretch. I had tested out this camera, so I knew it would work. Or I had a very good hope it would work. Alright, so here's your stretch. Alright, Samus, there was your stretch. Darn, it worked. Did you redeem stretch because you were hoping it would break the camera again? Alright, so as I said, we're in the final chapter of this, the final chapter. There is post-game content, which I'm hoping will go very quickly, because we do have to redo that whole list of whatever it was, 53 things. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we did it right the first time, that we won't have to do it again. If we do, we'll skip through all that dialogue, get to the true ending. And then there's just the, the, word from the developer. I think that's it, so fingers crossed. I think we're getting through this tonight. Because I don't know if there would be enough for, a whole other stream. It's past midnight, and almost dawn. Very quiet time of the night, we're staying up late and getting up early melded together. That exact thing was happening in the office of the Okanagan Gardeners. You just ate it instead of playing it? How would it be better if we ate it? There were only 2 people on guard duty, and they were playing cards. They weren't sentries, so they didn't really need to be on guard all the time. However, they weren't allowed to fall asleep either. After the TV broadcast went off the air a little past midnight, they usually ended up playing cards. Suddenly, phone rang. The phone was right nearby, so one of them answered immediately. Suddenly, the man taking the call stood up with a jolt. He even hit his knee against a desk, but was too panicked to care. So remember, if you're too much like Panic, you can just stop caring about everything. That's what happened to Yoshi. Takano dashed into the underground security room in a hurry. R is, of course, their codename for Rika, because they had absolutely no good codename. You could have even called her the Queen if she was the Queen, something other than R.
You forget that this was not in English.
Yes, but the voice is... I mean, I guess. But they still just took the sound of her the first letter of her name if you spelt it out. Yeah, she's over on her desk behind.
話に続きがありまして、沖宮署の諜報員によると、死後48時間が経過しているとか。
Takano could feel her blood freezing, starting from her feet. Just couldn't believe what was happening. At least 48 hours? At least 48 hours since the death of the Queen Carrier? Takano just couldn't understand.
そんなことありえない。だって、じゃあ村人はどうして平然としてるの？早ければ36時間の段階で、つまり夕べの時点で、かなりの末期発症が出ていてもおかしくないじゃない。
しかし、諜報員によると、これはかなり確実性の高い情報とのことで、村への進行上の影響を危惧して、現在署内に強い箝口令が敷かれているということです。
確実性が高いって言うなら、あんたたちが見張ってたあの家のフルでリカは誰なのよ。
監視体制は完璧です。フルでリカは間違いなく現在あの家です。監視体制が敷かれて以来、彼女が外出したことはただの一度もありません。中にいたことも入江署長が確認なさっています。絶対にありえません。
ならどういうことよ。警察が死体はリカで48時間前に死んだって言ってるのよ。それがデマだっていうの？デマ？そうよ、勘違いかもしれない。だって私の作戦なら、今日の夜私は岐阜県警内の工作員を使って同じ手法で偽装死を装うつもりだったんじゃない？これは偽装よ。いやデマよ。何かの勘違いに違いない。
Takano wasn't confused because she was still half asleep. No, Takano was afraid. Grandfather wrote in his article that within 48 hours of the Queen Carrier's death, everyone in the village would develop terminal stage symptoms. This would mean that he had been wrong. What about everyone who believed his words? What would they think?
失礼します、さんさ。東京の野村様よりお電話です。
どこで嗅ぎつけてるのよ、あの女は。私が電話をしている間に大至急沖宮署の死体を調べさせなさい。
現在は非常に困難です。協力員が明朝に出勤すれば沖宮署へアプローチをかけさせ、確実に状況を確認できます。
その早朝というのは何時？午前5時？6時？大至急よ。急がせなさい。おはようございます。高野です。
All the unit members were gathered in the offices of Okanagan Gardeners, which served as the garrison for the Mountain Dogs. That was the name I was trying to come up with. Mountain Dogs in Okonomiya. I think I called them the Bloodhounds, which I think is the other organization.
沖宮署の方が分かり次第、俺とサンサに連絡しろ。それより、R 宅の監視体制だが、R の在宅確認をなぜ怠った？
風邪だったということで、受話器を取らなかったものと思いました。その後、入江署長が訪問し、在宅を確認したため、それをもって在宅確認としておりました。
アメーゼ。R 宅に少なくとも誰かがいるのは間違いないんだな。
はい。それは間違いなく。隊長、R 宅に突入してはまだギリギリ可能な時間帯です。
そいつはサンサの許可がなけりゃできる。サンサも沖宮署の件が判明するまで突入許可は出すまい。突入命令に備えて R 宅監視を増員、8人体制に増やせ。
隊長、今日は境内で祭りがある日です。監視はできるでしょうが、突入はおそらく本日深夜まで不可能です。
うまいタイミングだ。うますぎる。うますぎるんじゃねえのか、こいつは。
Okanaki's rusty yet wild instincts were sounding an alarm. Since that someone was attacking them, since that his enemy had begun to attack. He realized the enemy had taken the initiative. People usually take a deep breath before they attack. That moment right before they strike is their most vulnerable. Okanagi assumed that whomever his enemy was, they were led by an excellent commander who knew the precise moment to strike.
そういや富武に先日の診療所での会合に欠席したってな。
でしたでしょうか。確認させません。
サンサ、俺に奴がどこに行ったか知らないかとか聞いたわな。まさか富武兄がウグイスで富武の寝床を確認しろ。こいつは一杯食わされたかもしれんぜ。
さて、もう後戻りはできんぞい。
さて、これで大山明堂して何が出るっすかね。
Okanagi was trembling with excitement.
クマちゃん、私は通信センターの方へ様子を見てきます。ここは絶対に死守してください。
なっせ、死んでも誰も通さないです。
あとのわしの役目はかかってくる電話をごまかすことだの。わしもわしの持ち場へ戻るぞい。熊谷、ここは頼むぞ。
任してください。
Well, he closed the door quietly and stood in front of it. This was his chance to show Oishi what he was made of. Oishi was on his way to the communication center. All radio communications and phone calls pass through there first. During business hours, each section answers its own phone calls, but when they aren't open, the communication center answers them instead.
どうですか、こちらは。
はい。ついさっき外線経由が鑑識課の直通番号に1本。
相手は
県警本部大高警部です。
おお、大高くんか。へえ。
Oishi grinned. The enemy had started to move. He must have bribed someone inside the police department to be their spy. He had started to move just as they planned. Oishi was surprised to learn there'd been Otaka. Oishi never liked Otaka because he constantly boasted about his academic background, always opposed Oishi, who believed in relying on experience. They didn't get along at all when they worked together at the prefectural police
通話が終わ
department.
ったようです。
じい様に聞いてみよう。ピッポッポッと。あ、もしもし。おーっと、大丈夫。私でいかがでした？
青鬼さんが生きがりをってから鼻であしらってやったわ。ヤンコさん、小坂に来とる。所長の出勤を待って朝一でこっちに直接踏み込んでくるぞ。
相変わらずことを派手にしたがる性分だな。てめえの体一つで喧嘩もできないんですかね。
わしもますますに面白くなってきたんだよ。今の電話で眠気が飛んだわ。やはりいるな。お前の言う怪しげな連中がゾロゾロと這い出してくるのを感じるぞい。
Well, things are getting interesting now. What's up next? Hey, demons over here. Come further in.
もしもし、富武です。
おはようございます。富武に早朝にすみません。山犬に動きがありましたのでご連絡します。つい先ほど山犬の全隊員に非常招集がかけられました。目的は不明です。
そうですか。動きがありましたか。
Tomitake turned on the light next to his bed and put on his glasses as he answered.
そちらの警察内で妙な情報が流れています。まだ裏付けが取れませんが、女王感染者であるフルデリカの死体が発見されたというのです。
詳しい話を。
収容されていた身元不明死体の身元がフルデリカだったというものです。死後48時間を経過しているとか、緊急マニュアル第34号の発令基準を超えた事態ですが、現在のところ南沢地区は平穏が保たれているとのことです。そちらでは何か情報が入っていませんか？
いえ、私は沖宮にいますので分かりませんが、それはありえないでしょう。多分女王感染者の死亡は何かの誤報だと思います。
こちらも誤報を疑っていますが、分析では情報の精度は極めて高く、ほぼ間違いないとのことです。
未確認ですが、鑑識課職員複数が証言していると。
しかし
Tomotaki realized something. Realized that the Okonomiya police station was Oishi's territory. He also realized that this must be the work of Rika and her friends. Tomotaki tried to think calmly. Even if they didn't know who their enemy was, it was obvious the emergency manual was a signal for an explosion. They must have come with the idea to destroy that signal. The foundation of the emergency manual is that, unless something is done about it within 48 hours of the Queen Carrier's death, all the villagers will develop terminal stage symptoms. If nothing happens after 48 hours, there's no need for the emergency manual. With that, the mountain dogs have been called in.
もしもし、未確認ですが。
はい、失礼。どうやら現状を考えると、入江機関に不穏な動きがないと断言することは難しいようです。一切に入江機関を緊急査察されるよう進言をお願いします。また、最悪の事態に備え、番犬部隊への予備命令を進言します。
了解しました。9時になればもっとまとまった連絡が入ってくると思います。山犬同伴となればそちらも危険です。十分ご注意を。
もちろん用意してます。
では次の定期連絡は9時に。
It was 6 a.m. Tomotaki would get another call in 3 hours.
ウグイス1より前へ。富武は406号室だ。屋外監視問題ないか。
ウグイス4野外監視問題なし。
ウグイス5フロア問題なし。ウグイス3室内は無音。多分就寝してます。
There was a do not disturb sign on Tomotaki's door. Perhaps he stayed up very late last night and was planning to sleep in. It was a great chance for the nightingales.
生かして捉えろ。サンサのオーダーだぞ。始めろ。
Tried to break into Tomotaki's room very quietly. Obviously, it was a simple job for them to pick a hotel room's lock. Two members of the door communicated with each other using sign language. Even knowing he was asleep, it was a good idea not to barge in. They opened the door very cautiously and very quietly. The room's interior was organized, but tasteless, typical of cheap hotels. The only furnishings were a bed, a small desk, and a coin-operated TV. Clearly only one person could stay in this room. And there in the bed, Tomotage couldn't be found.
どうしたウグイス3応答しろ。
そう、もぬけの殻です。
It was still early in the morning. The room was empty.
富武には野鳥撮影と散策の趣味がありました。まさか早朝からどこかへ出かけているのでは。
いや、違う。こいつは多分やられたぞ。
Do not disturb sign was on the door. That sign there, the housekeepers wouldn't come into the room, so they wouldn't know if it was empty or not. The sign had probably been on there since at least the day before. Knowing that Tomotaku was planning on staying for a long period, the hotel hadn't really paid much attention. In other words, the room had been empty since then.
多分、奴は襲撃を予見して宿を変えたんだ。そうか。それでしばらく姿を現さなかったのか。サンサに緊急連絡。ちくしょう、こっちの作戦が漏れているぞ。
Okanagi realized he'd been beaten to the punch. The foundation of the emergency manual had collapsed. With that, the basis of the final operation was shaky. Okanagi felt that the Major had panicked and rushing into confirming what was going on too hastily. Tomotage suspected us and went into hiding, then after, caught wind of that, he was sure to come grab us by our tails.
全てができすぎだぜ。くそ。向こうの計略にきれいに決まっちまったみたいだぞ。
None. Okanagi tried to calm himself. He was going to investigate in secret. He could assume that Tomotaku was still nearby. The department in Tokyo must be the one conducting the investigation. Yeah, Samus has already lost the game for everyone, so... Tomotaku is probably at a new hotel, probably somewhere in Okonomiya.
東京班のカラスに連絡を取れ。おそらく調査部が定期連絡してる相手がいるはずだ。その相手の番号を調べさせろ。そいつが獅子骨市内の番号だったらビンゴだ。
Okanagi was confident about his hunch, but he was thinking was correct. It meant his identity was about to be exposed. It also meant his operation failed before it even started. It wasn't a checkmate quite yet. If it proved that the dead body at the Okonomi police station wasn't R, everything would go back to square one. All he had to do was capture Tomitake and then check the body at the station. That was all.
隊長、カラスに連絡が取れました。通話内容は確認不能ですが、電話番号だけなら何とかできると。ただし、時間が欲しいそうです。
どの程度？
ほんの数時間ほどだそうです。
ほんのときたもんか。せかしゃしねえが、可能な限り急げと伝えろ。
It was a little past 6 a.m. Already light outside, still too early for the cicadas to start their morning chorus. They had endured the first wave. It was now a matter of how quickly they could recover. Okanagi just hoped that the Major didn't throw a fit.
カラスより連絡です。電話番号は調査中。なお、調査部は9時を定時連絡時刻に定めているようです。
あと3時間か。
Could you have it run on a website? Probably. Is C++ designed to be embedded on websites? Probably not. I'm sure it's been done. C++ has been around long enough, but I don't think it was ever designed that way. And from what I remember, Mind Test is freeware, right? Is the like setup process for it locally difficult? He looked up at the clock. Even the little things were beginning to bother Okanagi. Every time the second hand moved, he became more impatient, realizing the check-in time was getting closer and closer.
調査部長の岡一佐が番犬に対し予備命令を発令しました。任務は示されていないとのことです。
ってことは、引っ込みがつくような招集ってわけだな。大事でなけりゃ訓練ってことにしてごまかそうってらしい。大丈夫だ。まだ時間があるってことだ。
続報です。
What is FOSS? Something open source software? Free open source software? I think I answered my question.
調査部長が幕僚長の自宅へ電話しています。内容は不明。
But is it hard to get up and running? You can have free open source software that's difficult to get up and running.
大丈夫だ。大丈夫。まだギリギリ大丈夫だ。
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm trying to think. 'Cause I'm pretty sure that the Paper Mario randomizer community did recently develop a version that runs in browser with save states. But if memory serves, I think they're developing in Python. Yeah, I don't know enough about what they're developing in. The Bloodhound standby orders meant they saw a very high chance of the Area Institute revolting. This person's running a Chromebook? Well, that's issue number 1. People on site must be practically certain of it. It's not as difficult to execute as the emergency manual. Ordering out the Bloodhounds isn't that easy. They only did so because they realized that some sort of trouble is afoot. Okanagi was sure that the people who wanted to conclude matters peacefully were trying to settle down as if saying it was just a mistake. In order for the Bloodhounds to stand by without clarifying the missions like middle ground in that sense. The head of the research division had called the chief of staff, which is a very dangerous situation for the Mountain Dogs. In other words, the higher ranks of the STF, or people even higher than them, had decided that the Bloodhounds could take the field. The uniforms are hot-blooded. The suits always push for peaceful resolutions. They still hadn't decided which way they want to go yet. Their loss wasn't certain yet. Win or tie, everything was riding on the same table. That was the case. The call coming in at 9 a.m. from the research division didn't bode well. Okanagi couldn't say why, but he had that impression. It was just his wild instinct doing its job. He'd guessed that the people in Tokyo were going to ask Tomitake about the situation in detail and then decide what to do based on that. It's possible that the head of the division, or even the chief of staff himself, might come on the phone. And the Bloodhounds might get an order as soon as the 9 a.m. phone call conversation was over, which would result in his defeat. Tokyo was still unsure. Some were still thinking it was some kind of mistake. They wanted to think it was some kind of mistake. Someone made a web port of Mind Test? I mean, it's something, though. Even if you're not even close to full-feature parody, if you have it as a proof of concept, and maybe that's what this person's basing it off of, is they saw this and were like, oh, someone's done, let's call it 10% of the feature work. And assuming that if you can do that much and get a proof of concept that means you can do everything that way, which, no, isn't obviously the case. Tomitake didn't answer the phone. They might send some people immediately, but they wouldn't order out the Bloodhounds. Yeah. Yeah, at that point, you'd need a lot of infrastructure work. You'd probably need some kind of storage solution, a way to identify each player and have, their save states. That's a lot of work, and you think you crashed it. That's a lot of work, a lot of money going into it, and just a lot of maintenance. There's a chance it could end in a draw. Then if the body didn't actually belong to R, then though it would corner them, they still had a good chance of winning. They'd lose the possibility of a complete victory. Okanagi knew that Takano's clients hadn't ordered anything else but exactly that. Didn't want to admit it, but the enemy's surprise attack had succeeded. It sounds like they did as good a job as they could without building a whole file system infrastructure. And spending the time to build entire feature parody. Okanagi tried to change the subject while pretending to laugh, but all he could hear was Takano's frantic voice. He couldn't even understand what she was trying to say. The second hand on the clock ticked on. Who was going to be able to smile at the end of it all? Say it was going to be a long battle. Okanagi's instincts told him so.
お疲れさんです。今のは誰からですか？
今度はうちの花垂れ所長じゃわい。だんだんと手強くなってきたぞい。だが、わしの敵じゃないな。事務や風情が技術屋に勝てると思ったか。 かし所長が今日所長会のゴルフでよかったわい。直接来られたらちと面倒だったぞ。
If you fell off the edge, how come you were here?
ゴルフ場から電話とは仕事してんだかしてないんだか。大高君め、所長と一緒に乗り込みたかったろうに。今頃悔しがってるぞ。
間接攻撃でダメなら次は直接攻撃ですかね。乗り込んできますか、大高のやつ。
How do you get Wi-Fi in the limbo over the edge of the flat Earth? When I can't even get Wi-Fi if I step 5 steps out of my house.
所長が捕まらないんじゃ自分で乗り込むしかないと踏むでしょう。もうじか8時半か。下の窓口が開く頃だ。
Morning had finally arrived. The chorus of cicadas had begun. The familiar sound would make one think it was just another day. Float thoughts of... Is a utopia free public Wi-Fi? It wasn't just an ordinary Sunday. Wishing's men already realized they were grazing the tip of a huge conspiracy.
大高君の性分だと多分堂々と胸を張って正面からやってくるでしょう。
自分だけが正義だと思ってるやつにありがちっすね。
わしはここで電話を耐える。お前らはそいつを頼むぞ。
よし、お出迎えで行きましょうかね。クマちゃんはここを頼みます。
The lobby of the Okonomi police station is just like that of any other police station. Hardly be said to have a welcoming atmosphere. Some of the tiles on the floor were broken and cracked, so sometimes people tripped on them. Those spots were covered by pieces of cardboard. There was a sign that said, "Caution, watch your step." There was also a pot with a dead plant in it. It was far from a friendly lobby. Unlike hospitals and banks, there wasn't a line of people at the counters at the police station. There were a few sitting on a sofa waiting for the counters to open. And they would open soon. Some workers were standing by on the other side of the counters. Otaka was snobbish enough that Oishi didn't want to deal with him first thing in the morning. If only he was a pretty young woman with big eyes. Oishi's men were on a very important job. Otaka found out that Rikufude's death had been faked. The operation was finished. They were only able to shake up the enemy now while Rikufude's death is still on the books. They had to sell for every minute, every second they could, so Tomitaki could seize hold of the tail that was popping in. Why does it matter if you get burgled if you're not coming back then? You're not gonna miss it. If the truth about Rikufude's death was exposed before Tomitaki had the chance, the enemy would recover. The emergency being able to regain its credibility, and although the enemy wouldn't enact it immediately, it would try again for sure. Rikufude had detected the conspiracy ahead of time. That was a miracle. The divine wins. Japan had prevented Mongol invasions twice in the past with such miracles, but nothing like that happened during World War II. We might not be so lucky next time. Okay, Hat, if you fell off the Earth, where did you depart from and which direction were you headed? There might be no next time at all. Unless they defeated them this time, they would never win again. Possible to do some serious damage, a tied game would inevitably lead to the enemy's victory. They had to completely expose what the enemy was up to, allowing Tomitaki to call in a suppression unit to defeat them. That was why Oishi had to stop their vanguard here. His job, therefore, was an extremely important one. The enemy's conspiracy succeeded, Misawa would be destroyed, and more than 2,000 villagers would be executed in a gas disaster. Either way, the incident would never go public. People's lives depended on him. Oishi was violating his professional duties. However, he had to do what was right. Oishi thought back when the old man taught him that. He climbed the big ice wall at the edge. Someone who, despite the hot weather, was wearing a suit, came in through the automatic sliding door. He had 2 of his colleagues with him. He was showing off his authority like he always did.
Yo! Ohayou gozaimasu, Otaka-kun.
これは。おはようございます、大石さん。それから、私のことは君と呼ばないでください。もうあなたに君で呼ばれるような立場ではありません。
まあまあ、そんなこと言わずに、大高くん。同じ宅で麻雀を打ってよしみじゃないですか？
Otaka seemed disgusted to hear that. He used to boast about being a good mahjong player. Goichi once beat him badly in front of many people, which hurt his
あなたは
pride.
ゆっくり休校を温めたいところですが、今日は急ぎの用事がありますので、失礼させていただきます。
Depends on how good your virtual eyesight is.
まあまあ、そう言わずに。交流剣道大会で症状の筆行委託を忘れちまったと。あんたが私に泣きついてきたんで、こっそりステージ裏で書いてあげたから、無事表彰式ができたんじゃないの。
その件については感謝していますが、今は関係ないことです。
ありゃ、感謝してくれてましたの？なそりゃ失礼。そういう話はとんと聞いたことがなかったもので、県警では私が書きたいとわがまま言ったから筆行委託を断ってわざわざ書かせてやったんだって話で通ってましたよ。症状の字があまりにうまくないのでどういうことなんだと本部長に聞かれて以来のあなたの言い訳のはずですが。
さあ、どうなんでしょうね。誰かが誤解してるんじゃないですか。私はそんなこと言ってませんよ。
県警本部はあなたの島だろうが、あいにくここは沖宮署でね。あんたの思い通りにはそうそうならんってこってす。
ほう。それはどういう意味ですか、大石さん。
That just Samus's. That just sounds like the plot of The Matrix.
あんたがここへ何しに来たかは知らんが、あんたの島はゴブラだ。
Also, what's in the void off the side of the world? What does it look like?
沖宮じゃん。おとなしく引き上げてもらいましょう。
何の権限があってだね。
そちらこそ何の権限があってですかな。
県警本部で現在捜査中のある秘匿捜査事件についてだ。その件に関連があると思われる身元不明死体がこちらにあると聞いてね。
なら電話でお問い合わせを。
なるほど。どうやら鑑識課の連中とつるんでいるようですね。
It's the indescribable, unspeakably awful horror.
所長から検視報告をすべて県警本部に引き渡すよう命令が来ているはずです。
その件については鑑識から所長に説明が入っているはずです。まだ検視中でね。ちょいとうちのミスで身元が特定されたような情報が内部に流れちまったようですが、ですので報告書を出すにはちょいとお時間をいただかないとならないわけです。
ならその剣士に我々も立ち会わせてもらおう。
嫌です。
はあ？私は県警本部の一口剣担当として。
それが本当なら私はあんたの刑事魂を疑わない。刑事魂は高潔だ。そりゃお給料がもらえなかったらこんな商売誰だってやりゃしないです。ですがね、それだけじゃ測れない魂がなきゃ刑事は務められないんです。あんたにその魂があるってんなら私がここを譲りますよ。
Look in Oishi's eyes made clear the anger that was roiling up within him. The look in those eyes, Otaka recalled all kinds of frightening memories. Otaka didn't want Oishi to sense his fear, but he couldn't prevent himself from swallowing loudly.
そこを譲ってもらいましょう。私も刑事魂でここに来ています。そこをどいてください。
私をその刑事魂で押してどかしてみなさい。ほれ。
なんですって。
あんたの刑事魂が私の刑事魂に負けないくらいに重いものなら私なんか簡単にどかせちゃう。
I just need him to like burst into like the Super Saiyan like glow around him. Oishi was obviously saying that he had no intention of letting Otaka through. How could he do this? Otaka was confused. Otaka was an elite policeman at the prefectural police headquarters. Believed academic background and performance record were enough to earn trust. Working hard under that belief, Oishi doesn't acknowledge that. He doesn't even respect him. He is a scumbag. He's the worst type of person, one who tries to establish their meaning and purpose only through rough means, refusing to acknowledge everything about their superiors in order to protect their own pride, as uncivilized people often did. Otaka had been thinking ever since they worked together. Why did people trust in someone like Oishi? Why did people respect someone like him? Why did people appreciate someone like Oishi more than they did Otaka?
今すぐ動かなければ捜査妨害で君を告発することもできるんだぞ。
そりゃどんな捜査ですか？話してくれりゃ協力もしますよ。だから君もわからない人だな。秘匿捜査だから君ごとき田舎署の刑事にはならせんのだ。なるほど。全部話せないなら一部でもいい。あんたはその仕事に何を背負ってますか？
背負う？何を言ってるんだ？
私はね、背負ってます。私の後ろには村の住民の命運2000人分があります。あんたを通せば2000人、いやその親戚やご家族も含めればもっと大勢の人が悲しむことになる。あんた分かってますよね？
何の話かさっぱりだ。
腹を割ってやる。あんたの飼い主は恐ろしいことを企んでいる。あんたはそこまで想像がついちゃいないだろうが、何千人もの人が不幸になる恐ろしい。そいつがくじかれる里際だってんで、多分就寝中だったあんたを叩き起こしてすぐに調べろと命じたんだ。いくらの小遣いで頼まれてるかは知らんが、それがあんたの刑事魂より重いってんなら。
Oishi stopped talking there, but his eyes continued to speak after.
何を言っているのかさっぱりは。とにかくそこを通してください。
Otaka's baffled behavior confirmed what Oishi had just said. Been bought off by someone shady. But maybe he didn't think that he was bought. He probably thought he was just filling the request to confirm Rikafuru's body, his favor from someone in the information network. He assumed. He built himself. Of course, the part about being a classified investigation was a lie. When an elite policeman from the prefectural headquarters said it was a classified investigation, everyone would grovel and salute him. But Oishi didn't salute him at all.
話になりません。このことは後日必ず所長に抗議させていただきます。
おう、まだんかい。話はまだ終わってませんよ。
So Otaka tried to walk by. Oishi grabbed him by the arm. Otaka tried to make him let go, but Oishi was just too strong.
大して力を入れてるつもりはないんですがね。あんたに真の刑事魂があったら女の子が屈しない。あんたの揺るぎない推理、私なんかあっさり打ち倒して踏み越えていくでしょう。あんたはこの程度の腕も離せない。なんでかわかりますか？離せ！てめえには刑事魂がないからだよ。
When she looked over his shoulder, Utaka tumbled to the floor, sliding more than 2 meters.
これは捜査妨害だ。公務執行妨害、いや傷害の現行犯だぞ。緊急対応しろ。
Utaka ordered his 2 colleagues around, but they didn't know what to do. Oishi was also a policeman, and obviously there was something more going on between them. Besides, they could sense one thing. Their instincts were telling them that Oishi was far stronger than them. They were no match at all.
どうしましたか、大石さん。
Some officers were gathering in the lobby. They all looked puzzled.
県警の青二歳が筋の通らんことを言い出したもので、ちょいと先輩として指導したまでです。
The officers alternatively looked between Oishi and Otaka. They knew something was going on, but they didn't know the circumstances, so they didn't know which one to stop. Oishi was respected by the policemen of the Okonomiya station. Everyone respected him. Oishi said that Otaka was being selfish, then he must be at fault. Oishi was generally seen as sensible. All of them thought that Oishi would only do this in a public place like a lobby. If it was something major. Otaka was feeling humiliated to get such attention. He stood up calmly, hiding his humiliation with anger.
なるほど。あなたの言い分は分かりました。私も子供の使いでここに来ているわけじゃない。
いい根性です。胸を貸しますよ。かかってこい、青二歳が。お前はそんなもんか。くそー。お前の刑事魂はそんなもんか。俺はひなみ沢2000人を背負ってる。諸葛管内2000人の命を預かってる。ならば2000人を押し退ける気迫で今回や。
It was like watching a match between a sumo wrestler and a small child. No matter how many times Otaka tried to tackle Oishi, he simply crumbled against him. Oishi stood firm as if his feet were rooted to the earth. By the 3rd time, Otaka tumbled to the floor, finally realized he had been provoked. He caught his breath and fixed his hair.
わかりました。ならば大志氏、私が担当している事件はあなたもご存知の S 号絡みです。その経由である方面から真偽を確かめてほしいと依頼されたのです。
回りくどい言い方じゃわかりませんな。もうちょいわかるようにお願いします。
何しろ疑われているのは南沢地区では信仰上のマスコットともいえる少女の死なのです。それが事実かどうかすぐに確かめなければなりません。
だから電話で説明したでしょ。現在調査中。まだまだお時間がかかります。
いや、言いたくなかったんですがね、この依頼はもう託すのはやめましょう。あなたの大の苦手の園崎議員からです。
はあ、紋付き袴の怖い人ね。確かに苦手ですね。あの人に凄まれたら私も道理を引っ込めて無理を通すしかありません。
そうでしょう、そうでしょう。その園崎議員から大至急本当にフルで理科の死体なのかどうか確かめてほしいと依頼されたのです。住民の依頼ですからね。住民のための警察です。引き受けるのは当然ですよ。何しろフルで理科は南沢ではただの少女じゃない、特別な意味を持つ少女です。その少女の死体が出たなんて話が
未確認情報でも流れればそうでしょう。
あんた、そういうのは一般の方の耳に入らないところで言った方がいいですよ。ここロビーですから。
これは失礼。
Otaka suddenly realized his mistake. Some people were even whispering behind him. One of them spoke to Otaka hesitantly.
フルでのリカちゃまが亡くなったってのは本当なのか？
ご安心を奥さん。まだそうと決まったわけではありません。それを確認するために県警から参上しました。
そうです。まだそうと決まったわけではありません。現在それを確認中なのでお待ちをと申し上げているだけなのです。
その確認に立ち会わせろと言っているのです。いいんですか？私は園崎議員の依頼でここに来ているんです。その私にここまでの邪魔をしてくれたというなら、それは全て議員に話します。困ったことになるのは大石さん。そろそろ降参した方がいいんじゃありませんか。
Representative Sonosaki was well known in this area as an extremely tough congressman. People who knew about him continued to whisper. Otaka grinned when he heard them whispering. He realized then that in Okonomiya, his threat was more effective than he thought it would be.
サブローさん、そんなこと頼んだのか？
そこの県警さんや、それ園崎議員さんが本当に頼んだんですかいの？
ええ、そうです。私が議員から直接依頼されたのです。どうです？大石さん、さすがに降参では。
People continued to whisper. Representative Sonosaki is a big name around here, Otaka thought. Even gangsters give way if someone mentions his name here in Okonomiya.
さあ、議員が怖かったらそこを開けてもらいましょうか、大石さん。
ああ、反則切符の再交付は8番の窓口でご相談を。
はあ？私がいつ反則切符など。
Oishi started talking about something completely different. In fact, Oishi was looking at something behind Otaka. Huh? Who was he talking to? Otaka wondered. An old-fashioned elderly man and a lady in a kimono were standing behind him. Okay, no, the man was never had any art for him. Otaka's eyes met with hers as she smiled at him. She's definitely my type, Otaka thought.
なあ、お前さん、本当に園崎議員に直接依頼されたんだね。秘書とかそういうのじゃなく。
そうですとも。こう見えても園崎議員とは懇意な関係でしてね、直接お電話をいただくこともあるのです。
The elderly man continued to listen with a puzzled expression.
誰じゃい？
あ？名乗るほどではありません。県警本部に勤める一警官に過ぎませんよ。
あまりにもできすぎたシチュエーションです。笑うしかないですな。
なんだ、やっぱりこれは笑ってもいいところなのかい？それは私も気づかなかったわ。
Otaka couldn't understand why Oishi and this lady were laughing.
今日はご一緒でお越しになって。
いや、それがね、例の切符なんだけどさ、左折禁止の看板が茂った葉っぱで見えなかったんだよ。その出口に白バイが待ってるっての。ちょいとやり口が汚いんじゃないかいって言ったらさ、三郎さんがそれは抗議した方がいいって言って、こうしてついてきてくれたわけなんだよ。
ああ、行動の樹木は市役所の管轄ですからね。よくそういうのうちに来るんですが、なんともしないんですよね。
What did she do besides almost break it once?
それを知りながら出口で待ち伏せとるっちゅうが、けしかこうして抗議に来たんじゃ。
わかりました。そいつは市役所と交通課に私の方から行ってきますんで、今日は一つ穏便に済ませちゃもらえませんかね。
あんたがそう言うなら 今日は引き上げるとしよう。
Notaka realized they were Oishi's guests. He fixed his tie and spoke up.
違反切符はちゃんと支払うんですよ。
Hmm. I mean, I would hope it would.
即です。
カチンとくるお人だね。
カチンとくるお人でしょ。お茶目な一面もたまにあるんですがね。
私は今そこの大石刑事と重要な話をしている最中なんです。さあ、お二人とも用が済んだらお帰りを。そして良い一日を、奥さん。
Maybe it's like timed you out for a short bit to like discourage people from like loading in a lot, like basically DDoSing it.
ああ、良い一日をね。県警の旦那も。
Maybe if you change machines, or if you have like a VPN and you can change your IP address, maybe that'll do it. Someone called you a bot. The two of them grabbed Otaka's shoulders from behind. Lady grabbed his right shoulder and the elderly man his left.
私は生まれてこの方。何かわかるかい？
は？
一つは椎茸。生まれた時からこいつだけは苦手でね。食うのもダメだし、出汁を取ったのもダメさ。もう一つは嘘。食わされるのもダメだし、出汁に使われるのも気に入らない。ここまでコケにされちゃいけないね。石骨の鬼姫、園崎茜。売られた喧嘩は値引かないのだけが自慢さ。
園崎家のあんたが言うな。あと鬼姫って部分を一市民に置き換えれば完璧です。
は？え？
Police officers, the citizens in the lobby, and Otaka's colleagues didn't know what was going on.
ご説明します。こちらは園崎茜さん、獅子骨市婦人権友会の副会長さんです。こちらは園崎三郎さん、県剣道連盟の名誉理事さんです。それより前に肩書きがありますね。獅子骨肉選出の県議、園崎先生です。いやー、お二人とも県警剣道部師範代の大高君に稽古をつけるために本日はお越しくださったんですよね。朝から本当に申し訳ございません。さあさあ、先生方を道場にお通ししてください。
銀さん、なんじゃい、お前さんとは懇意の仲じゃな。今日はとことん付き合ってもらうぞ。
私も久々に燃えてきた。
The two of them were still clinging to his shoulders and laughing meaningfully. Otaka laughed along with them. Oishi's done his job, and they haven't found out that the body's fake.
確かに昨日の時点で入江所長は女王感染者が在宅しているのを確認したんですわよね。
在宅を確認なんてひどい。熱風邪をひいたというので様子を見に行ったんです。ですから
リカさんの死体が見つかるなんてありえるわけがないじゃないですか。
そうですわよ。ありえるわけがないんですわ。でもそれを確認しないと信じてしまって、その誤解する人もいますので。
誰が何の誤解をするんですか？
そのフルでリカが死んだなどと村に知れたら大変な騒ぎになりますし。
Now, I'm certain she's lying. I don't even need to wait to hear from Tomitaki-san. Takano-san's objective is the execution of the emergency manual. Why is she beating around the bush for this? Irie knows what's in the emergency manual. She could have just said, like, oh, they won't believe my grandfather's research anymore because we based this manual off it and it was wrong. This premise is about to be destroyed, and that's why she's panicking. Finally found someone who showed an interest in her research, which made her feel better about herself. Yet that someone's about to cut her off, and that's why she's panicking. She's as pitiful as can be. If it were possible, if there was a way to reach out to her, I would reach out to her to save her from drowning. But my hand will never reach. It won't reach her unless she reaches out. She's drowning, but as long as she refuses to seek help, I'll never reach her. Until she realizes it herself, no matter how much I reach out, she'll refuse my helping hand. However, my selfish imagination will have to stop there for now. Is Riki-chan home or not? If she goes into the details, she'll become suspicious of me since I told her I saw Riki-chan at home. That'll put me in a very dangerous position. The man who's been on the phone for some time put down the receiver.
電話に出ません。不在のようです。
監視班は何と言ってるの？
いえ、監視体制に入った17日以降、外出の形跡はなく、電話の一本もありません。
ねえ、入江所長。ということは、まだ中にリカちゃんたちはいるということですわよね。
ええ、そういうことだと思いますな。どうでしょう。もうだいぶ治りかけて元気になってますからね。うまく抜け出して遊びに行ってるのかもしれません。ほら、今日は綿流しのお祭りじゃありませんか。リカさんの家の近くには確か模擬店部会の水場が設けられていたはずです。人の出入りも多いですから、監視の方が見逃してしまった可能性も。
What's the scariest information?
どうなの？そんなことはあり得るの？
入江所長が出られた後には必ずシールしています。まさか窓から出たのでもない限りありえないでしょう。
In N curses? What is N curses?
家を出ていないと、そういうのよね。
そうです。間違いありません。R は R 宅内です。そして17日以降、一度たりとも外出していません。
The terminal rendering system? Oh no. What did that even look like? Like you've made like some kind of 2D perspective inside it?
絶対に在宅しています。
それを確認したのが入江所長だけで、山犬の誰一人確認していないのに、そうだと言える。
Mine's only thinking of that person who made the first like 10 minutes of Star Wars Episode 4 out of ASCII characters, but did it in 3D instead of 2D. One of the mountain dogs looked at me. I swallowed, then nodded to him.
ならどうして沖宮署で R の死体が出てきたりするの？
ですからそれは誤報の可能性も。その後の情報では身元不明死体の検視はまだ終わっておらず、フルで理科であるというのは何者かの憶測に過ぎない可能性が高いと。
もうその話は聞き飽きたわ。その怪情報が流れて東京にまで伝わってからもう何時間が経過してると思ってるの？このままでは東京に。
Kana-san realized that I was standing next to her and shut her mouth. I could already tell what she wanted to say, though.
東京の野村様よりお電話です。
だからしばらく待てと言ってるのに。
Kana-san usually has a lot of self-control, but she's not doing so well right now. and her body language makes it clear how irritated she is. Does she have a habit of scratching herself? She folded her arms. I could see marks where her nails touched her skin. She's clearly not doing well.
高野さんはお忙しいようですね。私が出ましょう。野村さんですか。初めてお電話いただく方ですね。
いえ、三叉邸ですので。
Mountain Dog looked alternatively between Takano's sons and my faces.
入江所長、今ちょっと立て込んでおりますの。大変申し訳ございませんけど、所長室にお戻り。
そうですか。そうですね。入江機関の運営はあなたに任せています。私が口を出すことではありませんね。
誰か所長室までお送りして。早く。
He's basically telling me to get out. I left the security room quietly.
もしもし高野です。お待たせして
何度もお電話して申し訳ございません。いかがですか？
申し訳ございません。今急ぐように指示をしているところです。すでに内部協力員を沖宮署に向かわせましたので、
そうですか。ではもうじきですね。
How crazy is it, Sam says.
では何時頃までにこちらにご連絡をいただけますか？
もちろん分かり次第すぐにご連絡申し上げます。ただそれがいつになるかはお約束が難しいのですが、大至急、急がせておりますので。
What was what?
ダンサー、飛行機に乗ったことは終わりですか？
Oh, I asked what is crazy.
もちろんですわ。
飛行機が離陸するために加速するとき、この時に大きな出力を得るためエンジントラブルを起こすことがあるのだそうです。その時まだ大して速度が出ていないならブレーキをかけ離陸を断念するそうですが。
That's cool.
4発の旅客機ならうち1つのエンジンが壊れていても飛行は可能ですから。それはもちろんこの度の作戦も同じです。エンジンは1つではありませんから、十分な速度が出ていれば離陸に踏み切るでしょう。後のことはどうとでもなります。ですがこの度の作戦という飛行機はまだ十分な速度どころか。
Does it seem like a long and hard tutorial?
お分かりですね。
The first step of the operation was Tomitake's assassination. That hasn't even happened yet. So Nomura was saying was
あ
correct.
なたが乗った旅客機が離陸前からエンジンが故障していると分かったらどうしますか？
Part 10 is 33 minutes long. How many parts are there?
降りるでしょ？同じことです。離陸前からエンジンに故障が見つかったため、乗客であるクライアントたちが飛行機を降りたがっています。
They're right at the point of no return, then a little mistake wouldn't matter that much. But since they're still before that point, they're overly cautious about even a tiny mistake.
それが本当に故障なのか、今点検させているところなのです。
ええ、存じ。あなたは管制塔の管制官。私は彼らをなだめる添乗員。離陸の見込みの薄くなる飛行機から降りたいと言い出すクライアントたち。これ以上事態の改善が遅れると、この飛行プラン自体がなかったことになります。高野さんさ。それはつまり、あなたのことが一人の少女が死ぬと村人バカみたい。何を根拠にそんな弱いことを。この分厚い研究結果は全てそんな空想論文だ。おかしい。高野ひふみと高野美代って何なのかしら。 おかしいおかしいおか
Takano ground her teeth. She squeezed the receiver so tightly her knuckles went white.
なってしまいます。お分かりですか？これはあなたとあなたが尊敬してやまないおじいちゃんの。
ええ、お気遣いをありがとうございますわ。
安心してください。私はあなたの唯一の味方です。あなたにとって一番幸せに報われる結末になるよう最後までですので、どうか私の顔も立てて沖宮署の動向を確かめてください。私も努力してますけど、機嫌を損ねるクライアントの皆さんのお相手は楽ではないもので。
ご迷惑をおかけします。もうしばらくだけご猶予を。ええ、はい、失礼いたします。
Anna made sure that Nomura hung up first and hung up herself.
おこのぎから連絡はまだないの？電話して。
三佐、つい10分前に電話した情報が入ればすぐに連絡してくることになっています。少しお休みになられては、先ほどのコーヒーも。
Unit member tried to serve a cup of coffee to Takano. She knocked it aside. The cup fell on the floor, making a black puddle. Everybody in the security room went silent.
何よ。ボケっとしている暇があったら誰かモップでも持ってきなさい。10分前に電話してても構わない。もう一度沖宮署の死体がフルで理科ではないという裏付けと行方不明の富武の確保よ。
And I was starting to realize something. By now, she could sense that there was something behind Tomitake's disappearance. Tomitake must know something about what's happening at the Okinomiya police station. He might look dumb, but if he somehow found out about the plan and he was trying to mess with Takano, Tomitake was clearly behind all of it. Takano had been intending to let him enjoy the festival that night if he behaved. The quickest way for Takano to be certain of what was happening would be to see Rika Furude's face at her house. But she couldn't leave, and she couldn't trust Irie. Because there were too many people around for the festival, the mountain dogs had their hands full. She would answer the phone, that'd do, but she wouldn't answer. That meant the house was empty and that Rika Furude's death was real. What went wrong? Who deceived Takano? There was only one person. The only person who claimed that he saw her at the house. Irie was the most suspicious person around. Tomitake had left the hotel and was nowhere to be found. Maybe Rika had left her house and was hiding somewhere else. In other words, Irie betrayed her and was in contact with Tomitake?
入江所長に監視をつけなさい。
まさか所長の在宅確認が。どうして所長が。
富武はいつの段階でかわからないけれど、そして宿を脱出し、R も秘密裏に安全なところへ避難させた。私たちはまんまと騙されて空き家を見張り続けてたのよ。
空き家ということはありえません。人影が確かに。
それが R だという保証はあるの？ R じゃない。監視する山犬を騙すために誰かがあそこに身代わりとして留守をしている。そうよ、そうに違いないわ。おこのぎに R 宅への強行突入を命じなさい。誰がいるんだか知らないけど、そいつは富武や理科に通じている。そいつを締め上げるのよ。
しかし R 宅への突入は本日は不可能です。 R 宅前は水場になっており、祭りの関係者が常にごった返しています。今日の祭りが終わる深夜までは不可能です。
それを何とかするのが山犬でしょうが。なんとかしなさい、なんとか。なんで私が言うことじゃ聞いてくれないの？私の言うことは聞けないっていうの？私の上の保護者の言うことじゃなきゃ聞けないっていうの？
Unit members could only watch on in silence. They knew that nothing could comfort her. The noise of the phone suddenly broke the silence. Anna practically jumped.
三佐、朗報です。カラスが東京調査部の定期連絡先の電話番号特定に成功したとのことです。電話番号は獅子骨市内。山犬が住所の特定作業に入りました。
富武だ。間違いない。ひばり、腕利きを集めろ。奴は用心してるぞ。抜かるんじゃねえ。白崎はバックアップしろ。
了解。ひばり湾より全範囲へ突入先が特定され次第全員登場しろ。
くそ、電話会社の協力員はまだか。
調べさせてます。5分です。
It was 8:45 a.m. I didn't know where in Shishibone was staying, but depending on where it was, it might be too far to get there before 9 a.m. It'd have to depend on luck.
5分じゃねえ。50秒だ。何やってやがんだ。端末に番号を打つだけだろうが。
来ました。住所は市内平坂1丁目のホテルモデラート。交換機を経由しているため部屋番号は不明。
聞こえたな、ひばり。
了解。出動。
Luckily, Hirosaka Block 1 was close enough. Okanagi had been right. Tomitake was hiding nearby. Garage doors of Okanagi Gardeners opened one after another. The white van sped off in a hurry.
やらー。今度はこっちの番だ。まさか調査部に俺の子飼いが混じってるとは思わなかったろうよ。こっちが今度は貴様を奇襲してやるぜ。
Hotel Moderato. Despite its name, it had a cheap, stained sign out front. A dilapidated business hotel on the outskirts of town, the perfect place for someone to lay low in. You might draw on some guess if they renovated the building to a more modern love hotel, if it was clear that they didn't have the capital for renovations and could go under any minute. That's the kind of hotel it was. Tomitake was staying in one of the rooms on the second floor. The interior of the room was worse than his previous hotel. It only had a bed and a phone. The other one had a desk and a coin TV, which is not something I've ever personally seen, except in a Mr. Bean episode. But you'd put the coin in and you'd get whatever it was. Like, let's say if it was a quarter, you'd get like 15 minutes of TV time. That phone was what he needed the most at the moment. He didn't have to receive regular reports. He would keep changing hotels, which was safer. But he needed up-to-date information from the research division. His course of action would change according to that information. Moving about unnecessarily might cause miscommunication in case of an emergency. Tomitake never suspected that there was a spy in the research division. The ticking sound from the clock echoed throughout the room. It was almost 9 a.m. The phone might not ring at 9 on the dot. Tomitake waited in front of the phone patiently. He tried to organize the information in his head so he could answer questions more calmly. At the same time, he kept in mind the possibility of an attack. That time, he heard a woman scream in the distance. It happened again, he heard another scream. Tomitake got the sense something was happening inside the hotel. His intuition told him that someone was checking every single room with the master key. Tomitake opened the curtain a little. He saw several mountain dogs who were blocking all the ways out of the hotel. How long had they been there? Finally, they had finally found where he was. Tomitake could hear their loud footsteps. He heard voices, too. This cheap hotel wouldn't have chains on the door. They had no means to fend off the master key. Tomitake could tell there were around 20 of them. No, maybe more. No use trying to fight with them. All he could do was hide. To the bed, in the bathroom. At the very least, the ceiling wouldn't open up like in the movies. He'd jump out the window. It was the second floor, after all. It was perfectly possible to survive a jump. They would be expecting that, however. Yet this was right on city ground. He was confident in his legs. It wouldn't be impossible to outrun them. Tomitake soon heard footsteps outside his door. This was it. He jumped from the window. Of course, there were mountain dogs on the ground waiting for him. They pointed, and about 6 of them started running after him. Tomitake shot off right from the position he landed in. This took the mountain dogs by surprise. He started to dash right after he jumped out of the second-floor window. Tomitake was prepared to do something like that. He'd been training in case of an emergency just like this one.
ひばり10よりひばり1標的発見追跡中応援求む
ひばり湾より白崎標的は裏通りを西に向かい逃走 制圧しろ。
白鷺了解。白鷺234。そっちへ行くぞ。来たぞ。やつだ。
Three members of the mountain dogs jumped out from behind the streetlight and stood in Tomatake's way. They prepared to stop him, but Tomitake kept running at full speed. They quickly realized he wasn't running toward them to knock them down. He was trying to run past them. There's no point in them taking a fighting position. They lowered themselves and tried to tackle him simultaneously. Tomitake jumped over them like an Olympic athlete leaping over a hurdle. He wasn't an Olympic athlete, and they weren't hurdles. Tomitake's heel struck one of the dogs. Two flanking Tomitake thought they'd seized hold of him. However, as he flew over them easily, he grabbed onto the two of their heads and smashed them against each other. Tomitake knew that this wouldn't stop them, but at least he'd gained a little time to run. Tomitake saw a van with its door wide open ahead of him. Couldn't stop in time, and hit the wall. As soon as it stopped, several mountain dogs jumped out of the van. Tomitake saw 5 men ahead of him, but he didn't think even those 5 could stop him. Why do trains sound their horn at people on the rails? It's not because the train will get damaged, it's because the people will get hurt. He yelled at them like the horn on a train. He wasn't warning them because they were in his way. He was warning them to move so that they didn't get hurt. Tomitake didn't grin. After all, trains don't grin. It's nice to see that there's just one of him today. And we got a nice close-up of his chest.
富武の確保に成功しました。
本当？あっさりだったわね。いろいろと聞きたいことがあるわ。殺しちゃダメよ。こっちへ連行して。どうせ殺すけど、彼には似合いの死が。
Phone continued to ring inside of Tomitake's empty hotel room. In 30 minutes, Tomitake was dragged to the back door of the Irie Institute, wearing a gag and handcuffs. Tomitake didn't even move, as though he was sedated. The Mountain Dog members had carried him out of the van. Irie saw Tomitake from his window and came out of his office in a hurry. Takano was already there.
これは何事ですか、高野さん。
The Mountain Dog silently glared at Irie. He realized that he shouldn't have left his room.
二郎さんの姿が見えないと思ったら、なんと末期発症をしていたのですわ。不審に思い、山犬たちに探させていて正解でした。
末期発症？富武さんがですか？
Of course, Tomitake didn't reply. Irie decided not to say any more.
そうですか。それはとても不幸なことです。すぐに治療薬を投与してください。
もちろんですわ。投与の間に合う段階だといいのですが。
Irie already knew. The Mountain Dogs had tracked him down. Irie wasn't sure if Tomitake was able to arrange something with Tokyo. He wasn't even sure if the Bloodhounds had been called in. He could guess that Tomitake didn't have time. If the Bloodhounds were called in, the Mountain Dogs would catch that information. If that was the case, they would likely drop everything and run. If Tomitake was captured, brought him back to the Institute. That meant it hadn't gotten that far, and they were still trying to fix the damage. In other words, Tomitake wasn't able to do what they had hoped for. What were they going to do to Tomitake? If they brought him back alive, were they planning to torture confession out of him? That would be very dangerous for him. He'd likely end up dead. Irie realized he had to do something in Tomitake's place. The main reason why Irie had to rescue Tomitake is because he had no way of contacting Tokyo on his own. Takano wanted Irie to be useless, so she never told him about how to get in touch with Tokyo. Irie could receive phone calls from Tokyo, but he could only call them through Takano. Therefore, Tomitake was the key, and unless Irie rescued him, they couldn't possibly win. But Irie wasn't like the Mountain Dogs. He was simply a researcher. No way Irie could rescue Tomitake from such a high-security area. There were 8 Mountain Dogs in the building. There were usually only 2. Takano had called in more. Of course, the basement was a highly secured area, and one needed an access card to get in. The card was only given to people in Irie's position. In addition to the access card, one would need a fingerprint match as well. The access card alone wouldn't do it. Therefore, the only person who could rescue Tomitake from that high-security basement was Irie. And so, even if it was impossible, Irie had to do it. Irie bunched up his hands in a fist and held them tight to encourage himself. But he only noticed that his fists were shaking. Irie, did you forget? Irie remembered what Akasaka had told him.
ただ、自らの危機を図るのはとてもまだ大丈夫、多分大丈夫などと思っているうちに連絡の機会さえ逃してしまいかねません。少しでも嫌な予感がしたら緊急時と判断していいでしょう。陰謀の度合いから考えて敵は私たちを生かしはしません。くれぐれもご用心を。
Irie felt the cold sweat pooling on his back. Is this the emergency Akasaka was talking about? He shouldn't think that it was still okay. He might lose the chance to run. He realized that trying to do something by himself was foolish. He had a security access card, true, but that didn't mean he had to rescue Tomitake by himself. Just like how everyone else was trying to combine their efforts, he should also ask for help. Also, Tomitake was in their hands, which meant that the Mountain Dogs had realized they were under attack and were preparing to counter. It's very possible that they were suspicious of Irie too. Once they broke into Rika's house, Irie's lies would be exposed. Indeed, this was the emergency Akasaka was talking about. Irie had realized that. He was already in danger, and he needed to leave immediately. Sonozaki Residence was their gathering spot in case of an emergency. His allies were congregating at the Sonozaki Residence. He should explain the situation to them, and about how to rescue Tomitake. Takano probably wouldn't kill Tomitake immediately. She was intending to kill him that night as the 5th year's curse. There was still little time left. He had allies, and with his security access card, there was still a chance to rescue him. Irie had to let Akasaka know that he was escaping. If they became suspicious of Irie, they would check the house, and Akasaka would be in danger too. In other words, it could cause a chain reaction. Irie didn't miss his last chance to escape, but he still had to do his final job. Irie picked up the phone on his desk, called Rika's home number, and left. It continued to ring like that, sounding the emergency signal. Irie thought back when he wondered how long he was going to stay in this director's room. He never knew this day would come so suddenly. He noticed the framed picture of his parents on his desk. Irie had become a doctor so he could clear up a misunderstanding between his parents and regain his family ties. How did he get involved in something like this? No, he would return. He would return and continue the fight against Hinamizawa syndrome. He vowed to himself that he would never abandon that responsibility. Irie said his final goodbye and left the director's office.
さんさ、所長室の内線から外線へ通話中です。電話番号は R 宅です。
え？どういうことそれは？盗聴できるの？
もちろんです。ここでもモニターできます。
One of the members flipped a switch, and the sound of a ringing tone.
このタイミングで入江所長は何をあの家に電話しようというの？
やはり R は在宅していて、富武を捕らえたことを連絡しようとしているのでは。
ありえないことじゃないわ。聞かれてるとも知らずに。
What was Irie going to talk about? Takano waited patiently to eavesdrop on a conversation. And there was nothing but a ringtone. In over 30 seconds, there was no answer. Nobody was home.
所長も根気がありますね。必ずいるはずだという強い確信があるのでしょうか。さん裏口のモニターカメラに所長の姿が。
Boy. Boy. There's not a Scoldy Feet raid. There's no Scoldy Feet here. I love API Error. API Error is my favorite game to play. It is a wonderful game. How is everyone doing? Let me mute the ringtone because that's going to be playing. I saw. It's interesting. Thank you for trying to shout out. I'm not the Scoldy Feet man, but thank you, Sure, for the raid. How is everyone doing? How did your game end up going? And thank you, Deadbeard, for posting an actual one. Give me one sec. I'm still hearing the ringing in my ears, and I don't want to hear that. Yes, go follow Sherb. Best source of random brain dump information on the internet. 10 out of 10 cannibal. That as well. Hello and welcome to everyone. I hope you had a wonderful time with Sherb. I know she's in the UK, and it's what, like almost 3 a.m. over there. If you need to go get some sleep, please go do so. Gosh dang it, Chaos. I will juggle after I welcome everyone in. Yeah, thank you for the raid. My name's Popeye. We're playing Higurashi. If you don't know, it's a Japanese horror visual novel. It's got some trigger warnings, which I'll get to later. Yeah, put your PJs on. Yeah, there's a good idea. Yeah, we play a lot of RPGs and visual novels here. For anyone just joining, this game has some pretty mature themes. If any of these are not for you, please by all means find some place that you would rather spend your time this evening. That's, I guess, not Sherb's stream, because he's not on anymore. But this game has some themes such as death, murder, torture, rape, child abuse, blood, gore, self-harm, suicide, any of those things against a minor. If that is something you are not comfortable with, please by all means find some place you'd rather spend your evening tonight. Okay, and then Chaos has redeemed Juggle, so we're going to switch to the other cam. Yes, I only play the worst games. We're going to switch to the other cam and do some juggling. I just have to make sure I don't run over the cat, because I just saw him run underneath.
He's here.
Okay, I'm not running over the cat. There we go. Alright. How's that camera? Oh, we're gonna...
Cat juggle.
Cat juggle? You get the cat and you get juggling.
Cats and you.
A little bit.
I'll go over here then.
Hey, buddy.
Cat juggle.
Hey, bud. Sometimes like these.
Right.
No, not today.
Juggle. Oh no, he doesn't like
He doesn't like that. He doesn't like me playing with the toys. They're his toys. And we've been trying to learn a new move, so I want to try and actually do it in a rotation now. Let me slow down a little bit. Trying to remember how we do this. Oh, no, that wasn't it. How does it go? It's from my hand. We just did this like Wednesday, and I've already forgotten how to do it. And I was trying to do it with my left hand. I remember I was having trouble with that, so let's try right hand. Something like that. Just don't drop everything. Let's try that again. So for those of you who don't know what I'm trying to do, it's called a takeout. And basically, my hand reaches across, grabs the ball, and like pulls it around. No. No, I'd have to take a look at the video again, so we'll just try some other stuff. Yeah, don't change the scene. Oh. Try that one more time. There we go.
Good job.
Oh, cat away.
Oh, don't do that. I'm trying to fix some porcelain.
Oh, cat, please don't. Okay, let me catch up on chat, 'cause I missed a bunch there. We don't have a catchphrase. There's no slurping animals here. All these awful things are happening. Time to juggle. There was no feet. Too late for takeout. Nowhere delivers this. Yeah, I have to take a look at the video. We were doing it fine when I was focusing on just that, but man, how did I learn how to juggle? This is probably not the answer you're looking for, but I'm self-taught. I looked up videos. I tried it. Hey, stop playing with the sound foam. Hey.
Cheerio.
And then I met someone who taught me. So okay, let's pull up. I knew how to do some basic juggling like this, and I had met someone, and they tried to teach me some more complex things. And at the time, I couldn't do what they were asking for at the time. Actually, let me go back to the other camera. It'll be easier than here. At the time, I couldn't actually do what they were describing, but what they were describing has actually become one of my favorite juggling rotations. So here's your basic rotation. You have 3 balls, you start with the hand with 2, you throw under. You're trying to have it about eye to like forehead level is about the area you do from. And what the guy was trying to teach me was this, which has become one of my favorite rotations. So, the simple way to do that is if you, from one side, if instead of throwing the balls under, on this hand now I'm throwing it over, you get this pattern. And then from there, if you take this one, and instead of throwing it under, if you throw it under the arm, you get this pattern, which is called a windmill. And then, after I do this, if I then cross over and do the other side, so if I do this, and then I transfer to the other side, and then back. Now if I do that every time, that's how you get this rotation. And then an even cooler version of that is, so in that one the balls are doing the crisscrossing. You can do the same thing, but the balls stay level, and my hands do all the crossing. And that looks like this. So the balls are all staying in a column, and my hands are now doing all the crisscrossing. There you go. Those are my favorites. And there's more cat. Hi, bud.
The cat is smelly.
You stinky butt. It's such a show off. Oh, nice to see that shoutouts were finally working. You're under your desk and on your phone. But yeah, so that's juggle, and then something we've added is juggle learn, where I really only juggle at this point on stream. And so I don't really have time to learn new things. So now chat can force me to try and learn stuff. Alright, so yeah, so if you've stuck around at this point, like I was saying, this game has some pretty mature themes. Those are down below in the description, or in the panels below the description if you want to see those again. We're also on Game 8, literally at the final stretch, so if there's any part of the Higurashi series you wanted to experience, like literally in 5 seconds when I advance this text, there's probably going to be massive, massive spoilers. So this is your final chance. If you stay after this, you know what you're getting into. Alright. And let me unmute the ringing that's been going off in my ears for the past few minutes. Now you get to experience it with me. The black and white quad display monitor showed Irie running out the back door. Takano became utterly confused, but the ringtone continued. There's no plans for either of us to become an uncle at any point in time soon.
What?
There's a running joke that in one of the episodes of this we had to kill an uncle, so that means I'm just an uncle killer now. That's the joke. There you go. And if you say Mr. Uncle of like 8 children, kind of finally realized what was going on.
奴は私たちが監視しているのを知ってて、わざと空電話をかけて油断させた。入江は裏切り者の仲間よ。捕らえて。
一回保安室。入江所長を制圧せよ。
Didn't they say he's already out the back door? Brother? Yeah, there. I guess the security room's the closest one to him. The 2 mountain dogs who were playing cards in the security room on the first floor jumped into action. The security room was located next to the back door, so Irie was still within reach. Irie had made a serious mistake. He could have left the clinic during the 30 seconds Takano and her men were listening to the ringtone. When he got to the parking lot, he realized he forgot his car key on his desk in the director's office, so he had to go back and get it. It was only at this point he realized he shouldn't have gone back. He should have escaped on foot. Irie wasn't used to emergencies unlike Akasaka. It was a typical mistake any normal person who'd never gone through anything dangerous would make. Although he made mistakes, he didn't forget to call Akasaka. People usually become extremely clumsy when they're in a rush. All he had to do was turn the key, but he couldn't even do that smoothly. He kept turning the key, and finally, the engine started. Irie still thought he was alright. Even if one of them questioned him, all he'd have to say is that he was going out to get something. When he released the handbrake with his sweaty left hand, he saw 2 of the mountain dogs dashing out the back door. The 2 of them looked around. Irie's eyes met with one of theirs in the rearview mirror. He pointed at Irie's car and the 2 of them started running towards it. The 2 of them looked extremely serious, and certainly not like they were chasing after him to return a dropped pen. Irie's body was soaked with sweat. before the two of them could jump on the car, Irie stomped on the gas pedal and the car took off after spinning its wheels. Of course, the dogs didn't give up. They got into their own car and started to chase after Irie.
保安より本部、所長は車両で逃走中。強制停車させますか。どうぞ。三佐。
高野よ。おそらく行き先は古出神社ね。
Thank you for the context.
神社に行かれたら今日は人だらけ。捉えることは難しくなるわ。多少の怪我も構わない。行かせてはダメ。強引に停車させなさい。
保安了解。これより強制停車に移る。念のためバックアップを送れ。どうぞ。本部了解。ウグイスをバックアップに送る。だがバックアップは待つな。直ちに制圧せよ。
The mountain dogs had Irie's car in their view as it ran away at full speed. They have to find a perfect spot and timing to stop him. It's not easy to drive a car when you're in a rush. Of course, the more you step on a gas pedal, the more speed you gain. When you're in a hurry, you can't control the steering wheel enough to escape quickly. Irie could see his pursuers in his rear-view mirror and was completely distracted by that. He was driving carelessly. His driving was so reckless that he could easily get into an accident on his own. As the fear was driving him into confusion, he made a wrong turn. That mistake made him even more confused and panicked.
町長、そんな一発で免停だぜ。
Although the two guys were ordered to stop him, they were starting to think Irie was going to get into an accident without them doing anything. They'd rather not drag this into a car chase if they didn't have to.
こちら大鳥湾、聞こえるか？
隊長だ。こちら保安車両。現在追跡中。現在地は5丁目付近林道。詳細な位置は不明。
本部要請につき、バックアップに向かってる。到達予定は15分後。こっちは当てにするな。俺だって間に合うわけねえと思ってんだ。
Okanagi grumbled. He had to leave Okonomi in a hurry to respond to Major Princess. Because of the distance, there was no way he could get there in time. Even so, he was still ordered to provide backup. He could have explained, but the princess wouldn't have listened to him anyway. The mountain dogs who were with Okanagi smiled bitterly.
追跡の方角は
最悪の場合、町の方へ抜けます。
そいつは許すな。
Hey, Deadbeard, do you know what Chaos has done yet? Yeah, have fun. Don't worry about it. Because here I am ratting you out to Deadbeard, so you know. Yeah, you should start looking for what Chaos has done. Yeah, I think you'll find it pretty quickly.
そこに人目は武装は
両脇は深い森林です。人目はなし。武装は保安車両常備の短期間銃が1。
Yes, the warning was for Beardy, not for me. I was aware of of Chaos's sin. The paint on one corner was coming off, and the shiny silver metal was exposed. Yeah, you can join in now. It was a machine gun, but it didn't look as powerful as an ordinary one. However, once the dog extended a shoulder stock and set it in place, the weapon looked far more vicious. The man in the backseat looked at the uniquely shaped gun barrel. It was thick and long.
発砲を許可する。フルバーストでタイヤを破壊しろ。
保安車両了解。攻撃する。
Guy in the back seat opened up the driver's side back window and leaned out of the car. Sharp eyes aimed at one of the tires on Irie's vehicle. It was a straight road. Irie's car was weaving, but not enough to avoid a shot. What did he say to Sherb? The pursuers had his car in their sights. They were trying to get as close to Irie's car as possible. They were afraid they might get caught if it overturned. They soon decided that this was as close as they were going to get.
3, 2, 1.
The sound of the machine gun made was a lot quieter than what people would imagine. Its power was unimaginable. One of the tires in Irie's car was cut to shreds and collapsed in a puff of white smoke. His one tire collapsed all of a sudden. Irie lost control of his car. He tried to steer away, but that made things even worse. As it spun, Irie's car drove off the shoulder of the road and slid down the slope into the forest. The sound of trees breaking and the car being battered from every direction disappeared down the slope. The pursuers stopped their car and looked down after it, but the plants were growing so high it was impossible to check from there.
We should add a redeem to give the cat a treat.
He's already so fat.
That's why it's going to be an expensive redeem.
You know nothing about it? The Phasmo, the update for Asylum, is that out yet? Is that live? They had a dev update, like, last week. I don't know if it's actually live yet. I don't think so, unless it's, like, come out, like, the past day or two. Mountain Dogs left their car and headed into the woods without hesitation. Akasaka had received the phone signal from Irie. The phone rang for over 3 minutes. The signal told Akasaka that Irie was in some kind of emergency and that Akasaka himself was in danger now. Kato made a mistake. She didn't realize the ringtone itself was the signal. She assumed someone staying at the house would pick up the phone eventually. Her error allowed Akasaka to perceive that extremely important forewarning. Akasaka waited for exactly 3 minutes, then ran downstairs quickly. He'd already put on his shoes while listening to the ringtone. Akasaka had memorized the layout of the town from the map he'd kept near the phone. He knew the shortest route to the Sonozaki residence, as well as a number of alternatives just in case the shortest was already blocked. People would be surprised to see a stranger coming out of the house, but Akasaka didn't care about that at the moment. He had to get to the Sonozaki residence immediately. However, the observers would see him, and that was a problem. They'd soon come after him. Upon finding the house empty, they'd assume the man who ran from it knew something. Once Akasaka left Rika's house, he had to be prepared to fight. He relaxed his shoulders and reached for the doorknob.
Sansa, R-Takuの監視班からです。R-Takuから不審な男が飛び出しました。
男？何者？どうでもいいわ。追って捕らえて。
監視班了解。制圧する。
It was only 10 a.m. It was a lively morning. Many people were getting ready for the festival. Akasaka weaved through the people going in the opposite direction, ran down the stairs leading from the shrine. The mountain dogs were already chasing after him. There was a significant gulf between the happy faces on the villagers and the serious face on Akasaka and his pursuers. He could hear them coming up behind him. He didn't even need to turn around to check. Akasaka held his breath, focusing all of his senses to their limits as he sprinted even faster than he usually could with all his might. The success rate of an escape depends on the distance between the pursuer and the pursued. Even a little distance makes a difference. Akasaka ran down to the bottom of the stairs like the wind and headed in the opposite direction, away from the Sonozaki residence. Of course, this wasn't a mistake of his. He just wanted to lose them. The observers weren't ready for this chase. They never expected a fast and fully grown man to run out of the house. They assumed it would be a little girl. That assumption was their mistake. Besides, Akasaka's locomotive-like power was nothing like that of normal people. There was no way they could catch him. Mountain dogs fell for Akasaka's trick. They called HQ, told them that he was headed in the opposite direction, and followed him that way. Akasaka was confident he could have them completely confused if he had a little more time. Not only that, he could have attacked them individually. Were there 3 pursuers? No, there's probably 4 of them. His mind, body, and skills were all in top condition, so it should be possible for him. Usually, overrating oneself is dangerous, but Akasaka was above such an immature level. Resisting violently at a place other than his destination might prompt them to waste manpower and time. But Akasaka wasn't sure of the real meaning of Irie's phone signal. They were at a severe level of emergency. Akasaka had no time to waste, so he had to get to the Sonozaki residence. As he ran as fast as he could, he tried to think about the situation calmly. He attacked them first, and then head to the Sonozaki residence. The pursuers were scattered about and running out of breath. It would not be easy to fight 4 men at the same time, but it would be different to take them one-on-one. When Akasaka decided he had a high enough chance of winning, he took a deep breath, made a U-turn around a streetlight. Mountain dogs were surprised to see that the man who was running away from them was now running towards them. They prepared themselves to fight. But before Akasaka even reached them, he had everything all planned out in his head. He had calculated how many blows would be required to take them all out. His calculations were wrong. Without even needing a second blow, the first pursuer dropped after one of Akasaka's legendary armor-piercing punches connected with his face. While the first was still in the air, his second armor-piercing punch took out the second pursuer. There was a chorus of cicadas, which woke Irie up. He needed a little time to realize what had just happened. The seatbelt had saved him from serious injury. I love the seatbelt message in the middle of this chase scene. However, with sheer luck that the metal parts of the seatbelt didn't get tangled and that the door didn't become warped. He was on the bottom of the slope near a different forest road. Irie endured the pain and removed his seatbelt, got out of his car soon after. He heard someone walking toward him through the bushes. Pursuer. Couldn't get caught just yet. Captured, it would be impossible to rescue Tomitake. Not only that, no one would ever know that Tomitake was captured in the basement of the clinic. Even though Irie knew he was helpless, he couldn't falter here. The only thing he could do was resist them and run for as long as he could. Yeah, chaos. Trying to start another gifting war. A gifting Deadbeard a game. It's not something you should do. I'm sure he's gonna mess with you as a ghost soon enough. As soon as he started to run, Irie realized it. He had no strength, his legs were shaking, and he couldn't even see straight. He'd only been stepping on the gas pedal, but his lungs were about to explode and his brain was lacking in oxygen. It had to be a certain type of exhaustion that came immediately after hyper-arousal. Irie understood that intellectually, but he still couldn't get his body moving. He tried to run, albeit in a wobbly way. He heard a noise coming down the slope behind him. This was it. Irie still tried to run as far as he could. Irie heard the voice of his pursuer. Shit, he thought. What can I do? I have to run, I have to.
すみません。音楽には疎いもんで。
There's a wrecked car ahead. White smoke was still visible, so the accident must have just happened. Kasai slowed down. The car stopped. The sound of the brakes startled Irie, and he fell on his behind. Except, Irie was obviously the one who'd been in the accident. Yep, I know exactly what it is. Yep.
まさかあれ、監督の車ですか？
シオンさん。
大丈夫ですか、入江先生。すぐ医者へ行かれた方がいい。
監督を診療所に連れてって、監督が自分で診察するわけですね。
さあ、立てますか。診療所までお連れしましょう。
診療所は困ります。その崎家に行かな。
監督、ちょっとどういうこと？まずいんじゃない？
Kasai looked at Irie's car, then looked around the area. And he whispered to Shion.
シオンさん、訳ありのようです。
どうしたの？
入江先生の車に弾痕が。しかも拳銃とは思えません。
マジ？そっち持って。ひとまず本家に連れて行こう。
The two of them loaded Irie into the back seat, got in the car, and left in a hurry.
監督に話を聞かないと状況がわかんないですね。診療所は困る。どういうことだ？
診療所の何者かに追われたと見るのが今は妥当でしょうが、話を聞くまでわかりません。ただ相当のヤバいことに巻き込まれたのは間違いないようです。
あれ？どこ行くの？
Shion was confused as to why Kasai suddenly made a wrong turn.
敵は先生のタイヤを狙ってました。生かして捉えるつもりです。私たちのすぐ近くに追っ手が迫っていたかもしれません。
ってことは追ってきてる？後方に遮影なし。ジョーク、この地形じゃ密着尾行以外は不可能でしょ。
念のためです。もう一度だけ左折したら本家へ直行します。申し訳ありませんが、シオンさんは後方監視をお願いします。
了解です。
保安より本部。標的は民間車両に拾われた模様。
Chaos has redeemed Stretch. Alright. I'm gonna switch to that camera. I'm gonna switch to the other camera.
Oh, okay. No, you know, that's the way.
You can still play with Cheerio. Hey, buddy. So much more space.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to put like all the instruments in one area. They're so big.
Yes. Do you want to see how fat Cheerio is?
Oh. Super fat. Here, let's. On the camera. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, we're not touching the camera. Sorry, camera. Okay, one sec. Sorry.
What happened?
Oh, this camera, I moved it and it went all like glitchy. You know when you have like a video feed and it like, you get that like glitchy look? That's what the camera did. That better? No, camera's dead. It's great.
Alright, you gotta stretch in your chair.
Chair stretch. I'll have to fix that after stream. That camera's been acting a bit funky. So I'm stretching my leg under the table. I know you can't see it. Trust me.
Next stretch. Not with your... You gotta push up. This... I gotta...
Yes, you have to...
Other way. Stretch the face.
Stretch the face. Back. Oh, that felt good. No, you don't get his cozy feet. Take care, Samus. Have a nice evening. You burnt out all your points then? Do I want to know how many channel points you have?
車両ナンバーと車種を送る。本部了解。捜索中のウグイスは民間車両に標的を変更。
I think the last I saw in your stream, I think I'm sitting at 235, something like that. I'm pretty sure I'm over 250,000. Oh, I thought you meant in the 1,000 range. No, I'm the dangerous one. Like, I can tell you, your stream I'm at like 230 odd thousand. Sherbs, I think I'm around 50,000. And there's other people. With Mim, I know I'm over 200,000. Cat Daddy, I think I'm nearing 100,000 or just over. There's a few like that. Yes, if there was ever something that like let me claim that much, I can do it in a bunch of people's streams.
至急捜索せよ。異例所長は極力生きたままで確保。接触民間人も制圧せよ。ただし生死は問わない。
大丈夫なの？すぐに見つかるの？
ご安心を。所長の白衣には発信機が。
Hey, stop playing with the cables. Hey. I'm scolding my cat with my foot because he's playing with the cables attached to my computer.
ウグイスの応援車両には測定器が積まれていますので、三角測定法で位置を検知できます。
Yuri was lying in the back seat wearing his white coat. There was a device in his collar. Hey! Oh, his toy is stuck on the back of my computer cables. This is what you want, huh? Of course, as soon as I free it, he does not care about it at all. The security department put it there just in case. No matter how hard Shion tried to look for anyone following them, the enemy already knew exactly where they were. Only at 88,000. There's a map of Hinamizawa on the table in the security room. Path by the watermill led to a certain private property, belonging to the Sonozaki family. The Sonozaki residence was the only building on it. This is why community goals are slightly better than having one really big redeem, because of the per stream limit. So even if someone like me has 200,000 points and you have a goal that's like 100,000 or 200,000, I can't claim it all. Or at least I can claim it all very slowly.
もうじき大鳥が合流する。合流してから一度に突入するぞ。
ウグイス1了解。
クラギ、ウグイスにさっさと突入させないと相手に無駄な時間を与えるわよ。
感度あるし。
誰も私の言うことなんか聞かないんだから。
Yeah, I always like saving it for when someone has a really big one. Redeem, really big redeem. Although sometimes I see it and I feel bad. Like Cat Daddy's got one that's like 50,000. That's make him eat like a spoonful of hot sauce, and I'm like, that's not good for you. Like I feel bad if I was to claim that. Make him wear the foot costume, sure. Sonozaki's family basement had a security system which displayed images captured from the various security cameras on the property. Of course, it wasn't as high-tech as the one at the Irie Institute. It was in the room on the second floor of the Gasso house, a Japanese-style room where you had to kneel to avoid hitting your head. With bundles of wires snaking away from monitors, it felt like a hidden chamber. There was electricity and a phone nearby, and although it was in a basement, it held all the basic amenities of a Sonozaki residence. First, all the club members watched the monitor curiously, but after a while, it got too hot in such a tiny room. Mion and Rena stayed in the room to observe the monitor. That's because Chaos is a demon.
これは葛西さんの車だね。多分シオンでしょ。
Also, I hope you are all happy that we're now coming live from Chaos's secret dungeon.
今日の祭りに合わせて遊びに来たってことだろうね。たくなんでこんな日に。空気の読めないやつ。
The granny had been at the shrine since the early morning. There was nobody upstairs to answer the door. Mion didn't answer it. Shion would think that nobody was home. Mion wondered if she should tell Shion what was going on. Shion could be helpful. Sometimes. Kasai's car stopped in front of the gate. Someone was getting out of it. They saw Shion and Kasai holding Irie on the monitor. Obviously, something serious had happened.
行ってみよう。レナにケイちゃん、一緒に来て。サトコたちはここでモニターの監視。リカちゃんは表に出ちゃダメだよ。羽生はそれでも出てかないようリカちゃんの監視。お任せですわ。なのです。ひどいのです。
Maybe Okanagi had made the right decision. He'd let Nightingale go in as Takano had ordered. It would have been on the monitor. Okanagi ordered them to stand by until another unit arrived, so they waited. Mion didn't notice that the enemy was about to attack. By this time there were many vehicles belonging to the Mountain Dogs parked by the windmill. Okanagi and Phoenix 1 had joined with Nightingale, and they were getting ready to head in. However, it had been a good idea to leave Sadako to watch the monitor. If Mion hadn't gone out, Irie would have been killed. Mion didn't know it yet, but Irie was their only hope of rescuing Tomitake. So as a result, entirely by circumstance, they did everything correctly.
もう神社の方かな。
Sofa.
Dog is hiding on the sofa again where he's not supposed to be.
お姉たちどっから来てんですか。さては地下にいましたね。あそこで遊んでるって鬼ババに言いつけますよ。んなことはどうでもいい。 監督は監督
まさかやられたのか。
ってことはお姉たちも訳ありのようですね。何が起こってるんです？
しーちゃん、話すからよく聞いて。実はね。
監督、何があったんですか？
すみません。富武さんが山犬に捕まりました。診療所の地下区画に囚われているようです。私は逃げる時に奴らに追われて事故を起こしてしまい。
Yuri explained everything he could while enduring the pain. Everyone was happy to see him safe, but Mion's expression quickly drew stern. Then she asked Shion a question.
追われてる？尾行はなかったよ。
とにかく中へ。良くない雲行きです。
They heard the sound of a car approaching, and it wasn't alone. Who could it be at this time of day? It's a waste of precious seconds to even think that. Because I picked up both sisters and ran through the gate.
地下へ急ぎましょう。あそこなら安全です。
みおんさん、変な車がいっぱい来ますわよ。
分かってる。地下に戻って。扉を閉めるよ。リカちゃんは？
羽生さんと一緒に隠し部屋に入りましたわ。
ウグイス6標的を発見。R の友人数人も一緒です。
間違いないわ。そうよね、ジローさん。
Tomitaka was lying on the floor of the security room. His hands and legs were cuffed, and there was another pair of handcuffs to connect them, leaving him in backwards on the floor. He couldn't get up or even turn around. Kano laughed and poked Tomitake's side with the toe of her shoe. Mountain dogs climbed over the fence easily. There's no need for anyone to explain at this point. It's obvious they were the enemy, and that they were the mountain dogs that Reek had spoken about many times. They went through the grove of trees and headed for the entrance of the underground storehouse. The first 5 mountain dogs were supposed to capture them all, but they fell down one after another. Just as one of the mountain dogs started to wonder why they fell, he felt something on his leg. Next moment, he was flying through the air. As he stood up, his leg got pulled again. He realized that there was a rope wrapped around his leg. Because of the way he fell, the rope was wrapped tightly around it and wouldn't come off easily. Sadako had set up a lot of traps in the bushes. After all, she wouldn't just sit around all day on an empty property. Club members headed into the underground storehouse one after another. The mountain dogs couldn't do anything, although they did see them. It was a heavy door, but when they put their strength together, it closed easily. He unlocked the door quickly, putting on the deadbolt for good measure.
これ大丈夫かな？破られないかな？テレビには5台、6台、いえ、もっと映ってたかもしれませんわ。全部ワゴン車で、中には変な男たちがいっぱい。
簡単には破られないでしょうが、荒ごとに慣れている連中です。過信しない方がいいでしょう。
Before he could even finish speaking, someone pounded on the door. The second group of mountain dogs had arrived. Though the heavy door was separating them, it wasn't all comforting knowing that the enemy was just on the other side.
私の失態ですみません。
監督は何も失敗してないですよ。とにかく奥へ行こ
う。そうだな。監視カメラの様子で敵の人数を探ろうぜ。
はいはい。私はのけ者で事情もわからずいきなりクライマックスですよ。はい。もう。あんたには5分時間ができたら全部説明するから。
ウグイス1より大鳥1。標的は防空壕のようなところへ逃げ込んだ。扉は鋼鉄製。突破できない。
大鳥1了解。この園崎家ってやつはとんでもない金持ちだな。敷地が広すぎて包囲は不可能だ。 包囲は断念。俺たちも突入に加わるぞ。ウグイスはその辺の倒木を探せ。大筒にして扉をぶち破る。
大鳥7より大鳥1、インドア用のプラバクがあります。準備しますか。
Plastic explosives are explosives for military use. Various different kinds. He was talking about the type specially made to break down doors. Nagi momentarily thought it was a good idea. Changed his mind right away. This was a small village. If there was an explosion, everyone would hear. Daytime, they were on the surface. It was the worst time and place for the mountain dogs to do their job.
さすがに爆破は無理だな。ああ？いや待て。今何時だ？
もうじき10時です。
大鳥7、やるぞ。新刊を準備しろ。
は？隊長、どうして10時だと爆破が可能なんですか？
Okanagi's mind was working sharper than ever. He was sure that this would work. Everyone gathered in the secret room.
敵は多分30人くらいいますのです。
そんなにかよ。やってくれるぜ。
ちょっとスイッチをいじるよ。連中立ち往生してるよ。
When Mion touched a switch, the screen switched the view of the entrance to the basement. Some of the mountain dogs were checking out the door. They didn't appear to be trying to force it open. They were simply at a loss for what to do.
向こうはどう打って出るでしょう。こっちを袋のネズミと思ってますもの。多分大勢で体当たりでもして無理やり破る気ですわ。
なんだこいつら、丸太なんか持ってきて。
どうやらあれで扉を打ち破ろうとしているようです。
今聡子が袋のネズミだと言いました。なら相手が扉を開けようと苦闘している間にここを脱出するべきだと思います。
同感です。それに富武さんも助け出さないと。
そうだね。いくらここの壁が厚くても敵に見つかったら価値はないと思う。レナも脱出する時だと思うな。
おねえ、この状況ならもうとっくに警察に電話できる段階じゃありません？だねえ、一番最初の市民の権利を忘れてたよ。仮に警察のスパイに電話を聞かれたとしても、もうこの段階ではバレバレだしね。大石さんが駆けつけてくれるはずさ。
Mion picked up the phone. Why hadn't she thought about this earlier?
あれ？
どうした？
Mion panicked as she tried to listen for a dial tone.
電話が、なんで？うんともすんとも言わない。
ケーブルが切られたかもしれません。
Suddenly, everything went dark.
なんだろう？停電
Kasai lit a cigarette lighter and Mion turned her emergency flashlight on.
地下の弱点を突かれたね。でもこれだけ暗ければ敵だって簡単には。わかんないけど、多分暗闇でも見える機械とかあるんじゃない？持ってそうよね、あの連中。ミオンさん、どうして敵は電気を切断しましたの？ただの嫌がらせ？
嫌がらせ以上の意味があるとすれば、ここのセキュリティを殺すこと。
あいつら扉を撫でてましたの。諦めたんじゃない。あっという間に壊す方法を持ってて、それを気づかれないためにカメラを壊そうと、それで電気を切ったんじゃ。
まさか爆破する
気？ってことは扉は一瞬で破られて、ここにもう砦の価値はねえってことじゃねえのか？
みーちゃん、今すぐにここを脱出しよう。さっき言ってた核シードの脱出口を教えて。こっちです、みんな。
Mion was getting confused amidst all the chaos. She hadn't underestimated the mountain dogs. She'd even considered that they would have some explosives. She didn't think they would use them in Hinamizawa in broad daylight. Somebody will hear the explosion. Is there even such a thing as a silent explosive?
荒っぽい
い連中なんだろう。多少の危険は顧みないのかもしれないぜ。
確かにこんな事態ですが、山犬は非常に慎重な奴らです。こんな真っ昼間に爆弾なんて。高野さんならともかく、あのお好みさんが許可するはずがない。
それでもぶち抜こうってのかい。いい度胸だよ。
ルナはわかんないんだけど、音がしない鉄砲があるように音がしない爆弾ってあるの？ないです。
Hello, Drew. How's it going?
どんな爆弾もみんな似たような音がします。そうか、わかりましたわ。奴らの狙い。
Did you finish the that catch 'em all with Rain? Last I saw, you guys were reasonably close.
監督は綿流しの本部役員ですわよね。
Like maybe 80% done, from what I could tell.
今日の祭り、雨天延期の判断は？
確か今日の10時に決まって。
Doing well. It's been a busy week, so looking forward to catching up on some sleep over the weekend.
まさか運動会と同じで。気を隠すには森ってことね。
Rika knew Okanagi well. Always complained about how he had to guard her like she was a princess. We had never expected Okanagi to be so sharp. That's why she was more frustrated than anyone else. Mountain Dogs had quickly set explosives on the basement door. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I'd seen the switch over to XY, but yeah. Yeah, bugs like that. Yeah, some of the fishing is pretty bad. 60% is pretty good. Hi, cat. Long wires were connected to the explosives, and the Mountain Dogs were waiting at the other end, lying flat on the ground. One of the members was holding a detonator switch. All the wires were linked to it. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's not bad at all.
今朝連中に先生を撃たれた時はよ、よりによって今日かよと思ったよ。だが今は今日で助かったぜって思ってるぜ。
Okanagi had realized he could use the festival effectively to make sure his enemies got what they deserved. The morning of the village event, these fireworks let everyone know that an event is going to take place that day. This method is often used for track and field days at school. Swat Nagashi starts in the evening, and the fireworks go off at 10 a.m. Fireworks, of course, make loud, explosive noises. The enemy is always located in a ravine. The sound echoes, making it hard to figure out where it's coming from. That was an advantage for the Mountain Dogs. A loud noise and a shock shook the ground like an earthquake. The explosion must have warped support beams everywhere, and there was a discomforting squeaky noise, and dust fell from the ceiling. It certainly was powerful. The explosive must have blown the door wide open. An explosion that took place without anyone noticing it. Mion led everyone into one of the rocky caves. It was a well, hidden shaft in there. They called it a hidden well, but it was actually a very eerie vertical tunnel. They didn't have enough flashlights for everyone, so there's no way for them to see the entirety of this ominous hidden well.
こいつを降りろってのか。どこまで続いてるんだ。
だいぶ降りると途中に横穴があるの。そこを抜ければ山中の古井戸に抜けられるようになってる。
ってことは、それについて一番詳しいお姉がお先にどうぞ。
私がトップ？
他の誰がトップ？しんがりは私と葛西が務めます。早く行って。
わかった。
Mion was going to volunteer to take the rear, but Mion and Shion knew instinctively, as there are so many of them, the rear might not make it in time. Unlike the iron door at the entrance, once the enemies were inside, all they'd have to do is go through the inner doors, which were easily breakable. The route was basically a straight line. They probably won't get lost on their way. Why Shion took the rear guard position before Mion did. For all, she was actually the older sister. Shion wanted to protect her younger sister, who was playing the older sister in this real emergency. Mion intuitively knew what Shion was thinking. Mion understood well the relationship between her sister and herself. She wasn't the only one who felt guilty for taking the older sister's position. I don't think you have time for this reflection. Can it wait when there's not, like, 30 armed guards trying to break into your house? Shion felt guilty for making Mion take on the responsibility of the family head. Here, finally, was a chance for Shion to atone.
Mion-san, 武器庫の鍵を今は開けるべき時です。
Mion silently threw over the key. Kasai and Shion took it and ran deep into the rock tunnel.
みんな聞いて。横穴まではだいたい30メートル落ちたら底なしだよ。しかも真っ暗なんだからね。慎重に待機してる人はちゃんとはしごを照らしてあげること。一度にせいぜい1人か2人しか降りられないね。私が先陣を切る。照らしてて。
ミオンさん、気をつけて。照らす人も落ちないように。
The lights were on. They could have gone down quickly. Actually, a few light bulbs inside of the well. Of course, Mion had already checked them. Now it was certain that the enemy had cut the power to the basement. It's extremely dangerous to go down this well with just the light from the flashlights. When it went down, there had to be people lighting up the way. Mion was right. She realized as she went down herself that it was almost impossible to go down the ladder without the weak light from the flashlights. The light didn't reach all the way down. In darkness, her feet suddenly became unsteady. Every step she took made her more nervous. It was about 30 meters to the horizontal tunnel. It's quite deep enough already. But the hidden well went deeper than that. Mion fell. She wouldn't just injure herself. Hasn't it been 30 meters yet, she thought? She couldn't even remember exactly how long 30 meters was. Had she missed the horizontal tunnel already? At that time she felt a cool breeze in her body. She could sense a huge hole nearby, so she took out a flashlight to light the surrounding area. She saw the black tunnel yawning before her. Mion lit the way up from below.
よっしゃ、次はリカちゃんだ。その次が監督で、次が羽生、さとこな。どんどん降りろよ。
Irie wanted to say it would go last, but Rena gave the order first. They couldn't get into the basement of the clinic without Irie. Without him, they couldn't rescue Tomitake. Their lives were all equally important, but at least for the moment, his was the second most vital after Rika.
気をつけてください。照らしています。
分かってる。みんなも急い。
Rika was much shorter than Mion. She couldn't go down the ladder as easily. Her legs were too short and her left foot slipped.
大丈夫。くそ。いつまで経っても成長できない人生なんてごめんよ。私は昭和58年6月を超える。そしてね、もっともっと身長が伸びるのよ。胸だってもっといつまでもこんな子供の体なんて絶対にごめんなんだから。
Though she'd been living for over 100 years, Rika was still afraid of heights. She fought that fear. She tried to climb down as quickly as possible. After a while, the light from the top didn't reach her anymore, and Mion's light from below lit her way. Mion's light was enough. The next person could come down.
僕はもう大丈夫です。次降りてきて。さあ、次は監督なのです。大人なら響きへ降り遊ばせ。
わかりました。先に行きます。
The mountain dogs moved forward carefully, wearing special goggles so they could see in the dark. The one in front noticed Sadako's trap and stopped the rest of the men.
ウグイス1了解。大鳥1トラップの痕跡少なから通電を検討されてる。
バカ野郎、そんなことしたら連中が逃げやすくなっちまうじゃねえか。向こうはこの暗闇で逃げるのもままならねえはずだ。俺たちに有利なフィールドを最大限に使う。 この暗闇で追い詰めて捕らえる。これほどのでかいゴーだ。別に出口がきっとある。連中は隠れたりしないぞ。必ずそこ突入班に火器と防弾盾、スタングレネードを与える。その先かっていや、ヤクザの大御所、密輸拳銃くらいの反撃は想定しろよ。ってことは、そのワイヤートラップもクライムア程度には注意しろってことだ。全身に1000個も鉛玉食らいたくなかったらな、全身バラバラになるぞ。
Buddy. Sadako's traps were effective only because they were professionals. Sadako had assumed that any professional misinterpreted traps as more dangerous ones. That was why she ran wires everywhere. Sadako was right. Although the mountain dogs were successful at breaking down the iron door, they haven't even reached the torture room. However, the huge cave with the hidden well was just on the other side of the door to the torture room. Just a matter of time before the enemy caught them.
よっしゃ、次はレナだ。
ケイチ君も急いでね。ケイちゃん、どんな感じですか？
ああ、今レナが降りてる。割とキリキリ降りられるみたいだぞ。
はいはい、焦って落ちないようにね。その井戸、歴代園崎家に逆らった連中の死体を捨てるのに使ったって噂もある底なしの井戸だそうですから。
シオン、お前なんだよ、その持ってるの。
Jan had returned with a big machine gun in her hands. The heck, Keiichi thought. It's one of those machine guns they use in war movies. Defining characteristic is the way the magazine is bent forward. What's it called again? Kasai had one in his hands, too. He appeared used to handling machine guns. It almost didn't look real. It seemed like a natural fit for this surreal world, lit only with blunt-eyed flashlights. Keiichi felt like the odd one out here.
Buddy?
What's he doing?
Shut my computer down.
Bud, please don't shut down my computer. Do you pull out a cable?
Bud.
Shion and Kasai hid on opposite sides of the cave so they could see the entrance to the torture room. Not only Kasai, but Shion also seemed to be used to doing things like that.
シオン、その役は俺がやる。だから次はシオンが降りよ
う。ケイちゃんの男のプライド、サンキューです。でも、ケイちゃんにからし2国の説明をするより、ケイちゃんの番になったらキリキリ降りてくれる方がロスタイムが少ないです。
I literally have my Windows updates pause until like January 2025.
気にしないで。いい女は死なないから。
If you go, and maybe they've changed this, but it used to be if you went to here. Actually, let me open it up since I've already got multiple people asking about this. Okay. Computer, please. Okay. All right. Windows update settings. Okay, so I'm in Windows settings. If you go to the Windows update, you'll get a thing where you can pause and resume updates. Now, if you pause updates, at least for me, and what version of Windows am I running? But for me, at least, there is a thing where you can pause updates, and then there's a thing that says pause updates for 7 more days. I can just keep clicking that. I'm clicking it now, so I was off. It was set for February 2024, but I'm just mashing this button a bunch of times And would you look at that? Hey, we're already into 2025. We're halfway through 2025. And we'll stop about now. So now it's not going to update until April 19th, 2026. If it's stopping you, and that might be a newer feature or an older feature, Windows has to save this information somewhere. My guess is it might be a registry variable. If you can locate that registry variable, and if you feel comfortable changing that by hand, you can probably do that and update the date time, bypassing their limiter. Well, see, if I don't update, then I will never have this problem. Yeah, or someone might have found it already. If you do a quick Google for Windows update paused until registry, you might find it. But yeah, that's how I've stopped my updates. Shion winked at Keiichi. They heard a door being knocked down nearby. Immediately, Shion and Kasai's looks turned stern, and they took cover behind the rocks, aiming their guns into the darkness. The enemies had entered the torture room. There was a flashlight next to the door. Kasai had left it there. The mountain dogs seemed to be able to see in the darkness even though they couldn't, so it was an improvised solution. The footsteps of the mountain dogs were growing closer. They were passing through the torture room. In other words, the door was the only thing separating them from their enemies.
Shion-san.
んで、ケイちゃんに譲って私だけ生き残ったら。
Yeah, like, it's gotta be stored somewhere if it's not registry. Registry's my guess. It could be stored somewhere else, but that's my guess for where it is.
私はお姉に一生恨まれますって。私の思い人はもういないけど、お姉にはいるもん。
See, I've got the ideal version because the bug that's there is the bug I need. If there's a policy for it that's mirrored in the registry, you could also probably disable the policy. Like, you might have to do an extra step.
お前、この忙しい時に何の？
死ぬ気はないけど、シオンに伝えたい。私たち、また次の時も双子がいいね。行け
Shion yelled, telling Keiichi to move on. Didn't understand why Shion said to tell Shion, but she asked him, so he had to convey that message. Otherwise, if something terrible really happened, Shion's message would never reach Mion. An explosion shook the air. Something was thrown from the torture room. The explosion from that and the noises of Kasai's machine gun sounded at the same time. The clamor echoed in the cave. All I can do is those violent flashes of light burn the series of images into my eyes. They said there was no such thing as silent explosions. I shed tears over my own intolerable powerlessness and climbed down the ladder. Mion quickly screamed from below. I descended and screamed up to the top too.
ウグイス1、攻撃を受けた。敵は隠し部屋奥の大空洞内で阻止線を展開。マズルフラッシュは2、おそらく AK だ。
集団がうまいぞ、プロだ。大鳥1、指示をこう。
そう来なくっちゃな。相手はプロだぞ。キリングハウスの卒業生以外は突入するな。ウグイス1、2、大鳥7、8、突入準備。火器はいくつある？
MP5 が4、各種グレネード多数。防弾盾は突撃銃には信用できない。放棄する。
入ってすぐ脇に発光した懐中電灯が落ちている。 おそらく向こうは暗視装備がないものと推定。
ウグイスワンだ。突入は俺たちでやる。合図と同時にスタングレネードを放り込み突入3回。
While the enemies were quiet, Kasai changed his magazine.
シオンさん、もう十分です。言ってください。
私が抜けたら葛西が断層を変えている間に誰が弾幕張るんです？ツーマンセルが基本でしょ。
There's a contradiction in what Shion just said. According to her theory, the last two can never escape. Mion kept shouting from the tunnel below. Everyone knows it wasn't safe to stay, but nobody could stop Mion from screaming.
俺とミオンはここでシオンを待つ。レナはみんなを連れて裏山に逃げてくれ。
わかった。嫌よ、誰が欠けても嫌。いいか。これが最後の世界なのよ。ここで一つ後悔が残ったからもう一度やり直そうというのはもう私は嫌よ。シオンが死んだり葛西が死んだりする未来はごめんよ。もうやり直せないって知ってるから嫌よ。いやいや絶対嫌だからシオン早く降りてきて。
They looked up to the top of the well. They saw a violent flash and heard a roar. They heard explosive sounds, different from the sounds of the machine guns that Shion and Kasai were using. They also heard a tinkling sound, which could have been the sound of bullet shells. They couldn't see anything other than the flashing lights. Only the noise reached them, and everything stopped. After a little silence, footsteps that didn't belong to Shion or Kasai gathered at the top of the well. They could hear hard-soled shoes kicking the bullet shells as they walked. That voice echoed down the well, and Mion and the others heard it too. They didn't know how to react. Some became speechless, some started to cry, some let out a wordless scream. They looked up the well as they waited for Shion and Kasai to come down, but there was no sign of them. A bright beam of light shone down from the top of the well. Rie grabbed Mion and Keiichi's collars and pulled them back. They could see in the dark. They might already know that Keiichi and the others were hiding in that horizontal tunnel. The guy shouted from the top of the well.
診療所長入江京介を引き渡せ。君たちは誤解している。我々は特別な風土病を撲滅するためにやってきた。今回の件は所長がある陰謀に加担している可能性があるためだ。君たちには何の関係もない。おとなしく両名を引き渡せ。
They already turned all the flashlights off, so nobody could tell what kind of expressions were on each other's faces. I could sense Mion's expression distorting. Because of the darkness, nobody needed to stop her from screaming.
この少女のことが、それが問題ならば安心。生きている。気絶してるだけだ。
生きてるってよ、みーちゃん。
Mion didn't rest easy at their announcement, though, because she knew Shion's survival wouldn't help resolve the situation.
こっちの男も同じだ。生きてる。だが、両名の引き渡しを無駄に拒むなら、この二人を交渉に使わねばならないぞ。
何をする気？
As Mion looked up to the top of the well in the dark, it suddenly became very bright. She saw something unbelievable. Shion was unconscious, and one of the men was holding her. He was basically sticking her body out over the edge of the well. If the man let go of Shion, she would fall to the bottom. They had no idea how far down it went. There was no way she'd survive. Shion didn't reply, but she moved just a little bit. Shion was alive, at least for the moment.
はったりだ。落とすわけねえ。
何を根拠に言ってんの？人質ってのはね、
2人以上いる時に限りいくらでも殺せるんだよ。上にはシオンとカサイさんがいる。奴はシオンを突き落としてもう一度こっちに同じ選択を迫れるんだよ。はっちゃりなんかで言ってるんじゃないんだよ。
Leon lashed out fiercely at Keiichi. He regretted saying what he just did.
考える時間が必要なら与える。ただし60秒経過したら最初の人質を突き落とす。よく考えて素早く決断しろ。
どうしよう、どうしよう。
Leon was half crazed with fear and panic.
敵の狙いは私です。リカさんはすでに脱出に成功したということにして、私だけが行きましょう。それで多分許してもらえるはずです。
That plan sounded like the best idea for minimizing damage. Lorena quietly spoke up.
ダメ。シーちゃんたちがレナたちの逃げ出す時間を稼いでくれたんだもん。監督が言ったら何のためにシーちゃんたちが頑張ってくれたかわかんなくなっちゃう。
じゃあ何？シオンにしないと言うの？レナ、あんたシオンが死んでもいいって言うの？あんたがシオンは
やめてくださいまし、ミオンさん。私だって胸が張り裂けそうなんですのよ。だってシオンさんは私のネーネーなのに。
That's probably the first time Sadako's called Shion her big sister. Which means she holds her in the same regard as she does her brother, who of course she has the highest regard for of anyone. Mion started to cry as she held Sadako's head. Mountain Dog's beam of light shone into the horizontal tunnel. Their eyes had grown used to the darkness, so even with the little light they could sort of see one another. But, so what? This was a desperate situation, and Mion and Sadako continued to cry. Rena bit her lower lip, trying to hold her feelings in. Yurie simply looked down. As for Reek and Hanyu, they were restless.
どうすればいいの？羽生、どうすればいいのかわからない。
僕にもどうすればいいかわかりませんです。
あんた神様でしょ。なんとかしてよ、なんとかしてよ。神通力とかで敵をやっつけてシオンを助けてよ。奇跡でも起こらなきゃ救えない。なら起こしてよ。神様のあなたが起こしてよ。
They all heard a strange sound. Everyone was surprised to see what caused it. Hanyu had just slapped Rika in the face.
リカ、聞きなさい。
I don't think we've seen this version of Hanyu yet, so let's take a look at... No, this is the scariest version.
羽生、私たちは共にあまたの世界を渡り、ある時はあなたが教えられ、いくつもの大切なことを学び、ようやくこの世界で最も大切なことを学び取りました。私たちが求めてやまず、そしてようやく得たもの。それが何かわかりますか？
Is how to make a miracle happen. Miracles like the number you get on a die. People think the result of the roll depends on God's mood. God holds the key to miracles. Yeah, so it's something that I enjoy seeing. And actually, I've been playing through a bunch of the non-core games on my free time. I've actually been playing through the console style just because that's actually the default for those ones, because they wanted the lip syncing to go with it. It also helps that there's a lot of times it's characters that weren't in the anime, so I have less of an attachment to how they look at that point in time. Although humans don't have the right, they can perceive how to improve their odds, how they can make a miracle happen. Yeah, I mean, I made the mistake in one of the first games of making a chat poll of which one I should do, and of course chat was like, oh, pick the one that looks the worst. And of course we learned how to glitch through we learned how to glitch it so you can have different styles on the screen at once. Rika's mouth hung open. That's right, she thought. I've forgotten again how to make a miracle happen. Rika stood up. Everyone was surprised to hear what she said.
冗談じゃねえ。でも必ず殺されるってことじゃねえか。
僕が出て行かなければ今すぐシーたちは殺されます。なら僕が捕まっても僕が殺されるまでの時間はきっと反撃のチャンスにもなりますです。リカちゃん、考えてみたらとっても簡単なことだったのです。
As she spoke, Rika stepped out of the horizontal tunnel and reached the ladder. A beam of light shone down upon her. In this dark world, her figure seemed almost holy, like someone receiving a divine revelation.
だって僕たちは絶対に勝てるってみんな信じてるから。僕もみんなも、そして神様までも信じてるから。ミパー。
Rika's smile told them that she trusted them 100%. Believe someone would come and rescue her before she got killed. That's why she didn't mind letting the enemy capture her. It would save Shion and Kasai's lives, and there was nothing.
今上がります。シンを引っ込めるのですよ。
The mountain dogs pulled Shion's body away from the edge of the well.
僕の仲間に指一本触れてみろ。舌を噛んで死んでやりますです。高野は自分の手で僕を殺したがってますから。お前たちは困ったことになりますですよ。
分かった。上がってこい。
僕の仲間をこのまま見逃すのです。どうせお前たちの計画でやがて。
その条件は飲め。命は保証するが拘束する。
じゃあお気の毒さようなら。舌を噛むよりここで手を離した方が早いわね。この底は深いわよ。私の死体が出てこないとそれもまたお前たちが計画に困るんじゃない？
As long as they captured Rika, the mountain dogs didn't really care about the others. They were ready to kill the rest if they resisted once they had Rika. That's why they wouldn't agree to Rika's request. They'd started to think maybe they should just lie to her. That was when they heard something. Hanyu started to speak in a clear voice. His voice with a very mysterious tone. It sounded like it was coming from below the surface of the earth, but also as if it was coming from heaven. Hanyu spoke. Nightingale 1, the member who had been demanding their surrender, was suddenly overcome by a strange sensation. He had been in such an advantageous position, but somehow it didn't seem that way anymore. That little girl's voice, there was something strange about it. That voice belonged to something both holy and sacred. He instinctively sensed it. Humans can only negotiate with other humans. It's impossible to negotiate with a being greater than all humans. It had been very threatening till a minute previous, but he'd grown completely perplexed. Everyone was stunned by Rika and Hanyu's mysterious auras. Rena muttered as she tried to hold back her tears.
貴様らの条件を飲もう。この場は見逃す。
You can negotiate with your dog, but you know, if you're like your dog's got the toy that you don't, or like, you know, something you don't want them to have, and you offer them a treat to let go of it, you know if they could, they would take the treat and then take that thing back in a heartbeat.
フルでリカは上がれ。タカのサンサがお前に用があると言っている。
では行ってきますですよ。ニパー。
探しましたんで、リカさん。あなたは大事な身なんですから、急に姿を消されちゃたまりませんね。こいつはルール違反です。では、リカさんは診療所に来てもらいましょう。お前たちは行け。
The assault unit that led Rika away headed back into the basement. They were about to break the rules, too.
約束を破る気ね。
約束？そりゃ何の話ですんね。おほって、つったら、本当に舌を噛まれちゃ叶いますか？
Rika tried to run, Okanagi grabbed her frail arm. She fought back, but her resistance meant nothing against him. One of the mountain dogs took out a syringe from a case. It shouldn't kill her, but it would probably put Rika to sleep. I know, after all, didn't need a chatty Rika, she just needed a live queen carrier. If Rika got that shot, that will mean the end of this world. Before Rika could scream, the other dog covered her mouth.
さっさと注射しろよ。
The dog with the syringe drew closer to Rika's arm. Rika was being grabbed from behind, her mouth was covered. There was no way for her to fight. I believe, even if I'm asleep, I believe. Rika kept repeating that in her mind. She believed that someone would wake her up. The first thing she'd see when she opened her eyes would be her beloved friends. It happened all of a sudden. The man with the syringe spun twice in the air and dropped to the ground. Nobody, including Okanagi, could understand the sudden phenomenon. It defied the very laws of physics. Rika couldn't understand it either. The man who was holding Rika from behind spoke up.
間に合った。
The voice had such a heavy feeling imbued in it.
数えきれない世界で後悔した。いつも気づくときには手遅れだった。
お前、誰だ？
The others took a few steps back, away from Rika and the man holding her. There are many units within the Mountain Dogs, so often its members don't remember each other's faces. Just too many units, nobody really paid attention. All the Mountain Dogs were more or less well built. This man had an excellent physique. Even Okanagi noticed it, but he'd never seen anyone like that in one of his units before. Rather, he actually wanted to recruit him, but...
私がずっと一番伝えたかった言葉を言うよ。リカちゃん、君を助けに来た。
Hands that were holding Rika left her shoulders. They left ever so gently. As soon as they did, they transformed into a pair of furious fists which implanted themselves in the faces of the men attacking him from behind. They flew through the air. Akasaka hit those two without even turning around. 5 members of the Mountain Dogs surrounded Akasaka. However, he didn't even see them. He could only feel the deep emotion of finally being able to do what he had been longing to. And the 5 of them sensed it. That maybe, just maybe, he didn't even care that they were there.
何をぼさっとしてる？制圧しろ！
When Okanagi signaled, the 5 mountain dogs bore down on Akasaka.
リカちゃんは伏せて。
He could drop to the ground, and Akasaka was left standing. Akasaka came back to keep a promise he made with the girl 5 years ago. This promise was worth more than 5 years. Rika knew that. Akasaka probably understood it too. The promise went back 100 years. For 100 years, he regretted not being able to save her from the conspiracy. He believed that one day there would be a miracle and he could travel back to this day. That's why he continued to train himself. His strong will and Rika's wish made that miracle happen. But one and only a miracle allowed Akasaka to be here in Hinamizawa in June of 1983. The first one went down in the time it took Okanagi to blink. Lowering himself to grapple Akasaka had proven fatal. He wasn't so soft as to let such perfect openings go by. Akasaka's hand smashed into the back of the man's head. His blow was powerful enough to smash a pillar of ice or shatter a mountain of tiles. As it happened, Akasaka was holding back a little so that his target wasn't too injured.
その手加減を赤坂は初段からやめる。だから一撃で撃沈する。微塵ほども容赦なく。
Akasaka's well-trained fist continued to knock down on the mountain dogs, one member for every time Okanagi blinked. One hit per opponent was all Akasaka needed. This was the true essence of karate. Akasaka's colleagues praised and feared his power.
その威力はまさに鉄鋼だ。
Weapons were useless against him. No matter how hard his victim tried to protect himself, it meant nothing to Akasaka. He was too strong for the mountain dogs to even understand that. As if he was a giant, they had to crane their necks up to see. Akasaka didn't even give them time to think. Someone from the mountain dogs must have called for backup, but a dozen more members had arrived.
大丈夫だ。リカちゃん、私がここにいる限り、君には指一本触れさせない。
みー、僕はお絵かきして待ってますです。
As Rika stayed low to the ground, she picked up a stick and started to carve into the dirt. It made Okanagi even angrier, but he calmed himself down. Then, the warrior's intuition resting in Okanagi's blood came to a realization. Numbers didn't matter. Even the full force of the mountain dogs wouldn't be able to defeat this monster. All the combat units were still down in the basement. No way they could take him.
ってことはよ、戦闘職の俺しか勝負にならねえってことじゃねえか。それにお前の顔、こいつは懐かしい顔だ。たくましくなったじゃねえか。
貴様、まさか。
標準語じゃ思い出せねえか。なら鉛で話してやるぜ。
つったら懐かしか。
あん時の青二歳がよくもここまで立派になったもんよ。
It's been 5 years. This was the man Akasaka fought while he was investigating the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Akasaka had still been inexperienced then.
あん時は手加減せん指示だった。サービスだがな。今日はそういうわけにはいかんねえ。あの樽男も助けに来ねえぞ。しかし、この5年でだいぶ鍛えよったんだ。俺は嬉しいんで、俺はこういうのを期待しとった。この5年間な。お前ら手を出すな。俺の獲物で。
Okanagi took up all his equipment and threw it on the ground. He loosened one button, then positioned himself. Seeing that, Akasaka realized he was somewhat capable and narrowed his eyes in vigilance. Okanagi took that as an insult, but Akasaka only thought he was somewhat capable. Behavior was telling Okanagi that he viewed him on the same level as other small fry. Akasaka first moved to take up his stance and avoid getting Rika involved. Akasaka hadn't even moved one bit until just then. Okanagi could see that Akasaka was extremely strong, but at the same time he thought he would be fairly simple to take down. Karate may be a martial art, but nowadays it was just a sport. The army combat Okanagi training was completely different. Obviously, Akasaka had studied it a lot, but it was still just child's play. All he learned were routine moves and forms. Besides, karate moves are fairly straightforward. Okanagi was confident he could fight any karate pro and win. Okanagi started leaning on his toes and using his meticulous footwork. In contrast, Akasaka still had moved from his back stance. Akasaka was acting as if Okanagi's footwork was simply a trick, which infuriated Okanagi. Okanagi moved fiercely and nimbly in a manner completely different from how Akasaka was moving earlier. Akasaka remained calm. Okanagi saw it differently. He can't react to my movements, so he's preparing to take damage in order to deal more. Akasaka couldn't defend himself from Okanagi's quick jab that connected with his face. It was a quick but light attack. Its purpose was to distract Akasaka and create an opening for Okanagi. Okanagi knew that Akasaka would use his arms to guard his face instinctively. Okanagi's real purpose was to attack his abdomen, to then be unguarded. Of course, Akasaka didn't have enough time to guard himself. It took more than just a good kinetic vision to prevent his attack. Only Okanagi, who trained for many years, had perfected the speed of that technique. Normal people would struggle helplessly while vomiting if they were to experience Okanagi's kick. Even rupture internal organs. It was pretty amazing that Akasaka was still on his feet. Akasaka mumbled something, but Okanagi couldn't hear. Actually, he did hear, but Okanagi never imagined he'd say such a thing in this situation, though he couldn't hear it. Couldn't comprehend it.
貴様の一撃は相手を打ち倒すことしか考えていい。だから重さが宿らない。は？何をバカなこと言ってやがる。空手は心を養う。人を打つということだ。自らの一撃が相手に何を及ぼすか。人は打つ意味と打たれる意味を知るのだ。だからそれに至らない貴様の一撃には重みが宿らない。それは俺が未熟だということか。
Okanagi attacked Akasaka again. This time, he was different. Akasaka blocked Okanagi's fists and legs. Of course, Okanagi was still the only one attacking, but Akasaka had started to become much more aggressive. Now as Okanagi attacked, his hands and legs were being injured. Okanagi instinctively sensed he was in trouble. He thought Akasaka was just a police officer. His movements were too dangerous. He was merciless. He was dangerous. So Akasaka's training experience must far surpass Okanagi's. Wait, that dynamic heel kick isn't karate, is it? Akasaka's heel kick missed Okanagi's head by a millimeter.
てめえ、空手以外にもやってやがるな。
いいや、私は空手しかやっていない。
嘘つくんじゃねえ。さっきから明らかに空手じゃ見たことねえ技が目立つぞ。
Okanagi was starting to become impatient. The reason Okanagi ridiculed martial arts as sports was because they were all hard-headed and only used set moves. This is how you strike in karate, this is how you punch in boxing, this is how you throw in judo. It's easy to learn, that's why it's easy to win. Akasaka was different. He said he only did karate. He must have spent unthinkable hours training, yet he was flexible enough to not be confined by only formatted moves. That was understanding at a spiritual level. The spirit of martial arts isn't just forms. One simply learns forms to reach that spiritual level. Therefore, for one who has reached it, there are no forms. What Akasaka had was a philosophical spirit. Akasaka stepped away from his original spot for the first time. move forward. He filled the space between Okanagi and himself with this inescapable conviction. As Akasaka walked closer to Okanagi, Akasaka's assault radius tried to swallow him whole. To be within that radius meant death. Okanagi walked backwards to avoid being in that radius. That was the result of his clear-headed judgment, not because he was scared. So he moved backwards. He's back at the van he came in earlier. He was cornered. Having your back to a wall didn't mean you were at a disadvantage. The more it was pressed against that wall, the further a disadvantage it became. Okanagi let Akasaka come closer. Okanagi wouldn't have been able to take a combat stance. Okanagi decided immediately. The last chance he had was the moment before Akasaka took his next step. Akasaka's foot left the ground, taking another step. Now. No tricks, no feints. Okanagi lowered himself and attacked with everything he had. The attack was powerful enough to break Akasaka's ribcage and rupture his heart. And professional Okanagi told himself, I can't be defeated by this amateur. At that moment, Akasaka's eyes opened wide. All the mountain dogs heard a noise. It wasn't the noise of people fighting. It was the noise of a traffic accident. Okanagi's blow missed by a slight amount, and Akasaka's fist struck inches away from Okanagi's face. There was a dent in the sliding door of the van. The windows on both sides had shattered, and it looked like the van was in an accident. Was it even possible for a human fist to do this? Time resumed its flow, and Okanagi knelt down, falling to the ground. Akasaka didn't miss on purpose. Akasaka couldn't control his fist because he put everything into one blow. Okanagi should thank Akasaka. Unable to control his attack better, his face would have ended up like the van. However, although it didn't hit Okanagi's face, it shattered his spirit. Rika applauded, but in this situation it didn't sound like applause. It sounded like Akasaka's fighting spirit was popping like firecrackers. Akasaka pulled back his fist, turned around calmly, and then spoke. Yeah, it was. Yeah, she says the word. It's like saying like an onomatopoeia, and she's like clap, clap, clap. Except she just says the word. They knew, everyone knew, that there was no way to defeat Akasaka with their bare hands. They realized they needed weapons. They also needed more people. Should be a better equipped unit in the basement. All of a sudden, things began to move quickly. The three remaining mountain dogs emerged from the basement. Mountain dogs just witnessed Akasaka's battle against Okanagi realized it was time for them to run. They didn't even care about Rika. Who would even think of taking Rika from him after seeing what Akasaka was capable of doing? When Okanagi regained his awareness, he jumped into the van with the mountain dogs as it drove away. Since Okanagi took off his intercom device to fight with Akasaka, he had no idea what had transpired in the basement. After the mountain dogs broke their promise with Rika, they were supposed to round up with the remaining club members. When Akasaka showed up, the dogs had been divided into a ground force and a basement force, which altered the situation. Kasai had gone on a counterattack, and the other club members somehow climbed up from the well and helped him. Since the mountain dogs weren't allowed to fire on the surface, they realized it would make the situation worse if Kasai fired his guns once he came after them. Okanagi was unreachable, so Nightingale wanted to order the retreat in his place. Who would bear the responsibility for this? It's probably Okanagi's fault for taking off his intercom device to fight against Akasaka, basically abandoned his job as a commander. But everything had happened in the first place because Akasaka showed up. Maybe it was his triumph rather than Okanagi's blunder. Either way, everything was miraculous. If the mountain dogs hadn't run with their tails between their legs, they'd simply retreated for the moment. When they returned, they would have enough men and arms ready to kill all who stand in their way. And that would happen very soon. There's no time to waste. But I think there is time for another stream.